Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the Wealthy Trustee webinar. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I appreciate you guys coming. So we're going to have a short presentation for you guys. I'm going to be teaching you guys all things about trust, okay? And about trusteeship and how you could protect your assets and how you could utilize these entities in order to build wealth. So if you are intentional about building generational wealth, then you guys are in the right spot. So right place, right time. With that being said, I have a short presentation, so we're going to go through a couple of slides. After we're done with the presentation, I'm going to open up the floor for Q&A. So if you guys have any questions about anything that I go over tonight, just write it down. And then after we're done, you can ask me. So you can raise your hand, you can put it in the chat, and I'll be able to answer any questions that you guys might have. Okay. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. We're going to get started. I just want to say hello to everyone. If you guys want to come on camera, I would appreciate that. I don't want to be the only person here on camera. So I see there's a couple of us here. I see John, I see Timothy, I see Michael, I see Antonio. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. I see Jesse, I see Angela. Hi. Let's see who else we have here. All right. So with that being said, let's just get started. My name is Christina Yvette. I am a trust strategist. I have been a trustee for going on 10 years now. And my whole goal is to teach you guys about trusteeship so that I can empower you so that you too can know and understand the inter workings of a trust so that you can know how to operate it, okay? So we're going to dive right into the presentation. Let's see here. All right, there we go. All right. So, like I said, this is the Wealthy Trustee webinar, and I'm going to teach you the right way to build wealth. So we're going to be talking about some wealth building strategies in this webinar, you guys, okay? So, I already introduced myself. A short disclaimer, this is not legal advice or tax advice. So I'm not a licensed attorney or a certified public accountant, okay? So what I'm teaching you is how to actually set up a trust and how to operate a trust yourself, okay? So the objective of tonight is for you guys to learn what a trust is, for you guys to learn the contributors of a trust entity, some tax strategies, some wealth building strategies, how to protect your assets, and how to operate a trust, okay? So how do these companies, right? We see these different companies like ExxonMobil, we see Trump, we see Microsoft, Amazon, all of these different companies, right? How is it that they pay little to no taxes? So we've heard Trump say that he doesn't pay taxes because he's smart. We heard Warren Buffett say that he pays less taxes than his secretary. And these are billion-dollar organizations. So the reason that they're able to pay little to no taxes is because they have trust within their structure. So structure is very, very, very important. And that's something that I'm going to go over tonight so that you can either consider how you are structured, how you want to be structured, or how you need to get restructured, okay? So let's just dive in to what an actual trust is. And the way that I got started with a trust was, like I said, I've been a trustee for 10 years, was by way of real estate. So I was actually a registered nurse and I was living paycheck to paycheck. And I told myself that I only wanted to stay in my career for 10 years because I was burnt out, right? If you guys know anything about nursing, you know that the hospitals are always short-staffed. So instead of me working 3 hours, 3 days a week, 12 hours, I end up working 6 days a week in 12-hour shifts. So I was burnt out. And I ended up going to a seminar. And in this seminar, they taught me everything that I needed to know about real estate investing. So I started investing in real estate, and my mentor told me that I needed to set up a trust. I had bought this little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house in Miami, and I bought it for $89,000. And I ended up selling it for $235,000. But before I sold it, I put it into a trust, got it renovated. So I started actually operating trust at that point in time. And I've been operating trust ever since. So that was in 2015, you guys. So what is an actual trust? A lot of us, we hear the terms trust, right? We hear the term trust fund babies. We hear these things out in the community, but we're not sure what it is. So a trust is an entity, just like you are an entity, right? So I'm an entity. So we are living, breathing entities. A trust is also considered a living, breathing entity. It's just like a business. So you have corporations, you have LLCs. Those are also, let's see here. So those are also entities as well, you guys, okay? So now, how does an entity come into fruition? Well, it comes into fruition by way of a contract. That's how it comes into it being established, okay? And with this contract, there are several different parts to the contract, and there's several different parties involved in the contract. So the two parts that I want you to know about is one, the declaration. That is where you're declaring what it is and what it is not. So you're declaring that this contract is actually setting up a trust and that it is not setting up a LLC, a corporation, a joint venture, a partnership, things of that nature. So that's the main thing with the declaration. And then you have the actual indenture. So the term indenture means agreement. So that's what that contract is. And there's different parties involved, which we'll go through in just a moment. But that's where you have the rules and regulations of how you want the trust to operate, okay? So those are what we call provisions, okay? So that is how you want, if you want to put any restrictions in there, if you want to, let anybody in the future know how you want this trust to operate, then that's where you're going to put that in that section, okay? So like I said, it's a contract. You have an establishment date. That's the date that the actual agreement is happening. And that date is going to let you know when the trust is due to expire. So you have to choose a term. You can choose anywhere between 1 year to upwards of 100 years, just depending on you and how you want to run your organization, okay? So let's talk about the different parties involved in this contract. So the first party is the grantor. The grantor is the creator of the trust. That is the individual who is creating the trust for the benefit of somebody else. That somebody else is called the beneficiary, okay? So the grantor is the individual who is going to donate the first asset to the trust, or they put money into the trust. That donation is called a consideration, okay? So you have to add something of value to the trust in order for that contract to be fully executed, okay? So with that being said, remember we said that the trust is an entity. So it's seen just like how you're seen, okay? So you are an entity, you're a living, breathing entity. The trust can do anything and everything that you can do. So if you can go buy a house, the trust can buy a house. If you could build credit, the trust could also build credit. So there's no restrictions on what the trust can do, okay? So with the grantor, other terms that you might hear is settlor or trustor. Let's move on to the second party, which is the trustee. That's the operator or the controller of the trust. So that is who we call the fiduciary, okay? That is the person who is going to be managing the trust on the day-to-day basis. They have full control over all the assets that are placed inside of the trust. So if you want to place your assets inside of the trust, but you still want to have control over those assets, you're going to be the trustee of the trust, okay? So they are operating the trust for the beneficiaries. The beneficiaries do not have any power or any control. The beneficiaries are the inheritors of the trust. So they are going to receive the assets that are inside of the trust once the trust is terminated, okay? So remember, if you set up your trust for 100 years and now it's 100 years into the future, right? So let's just say that it's January 15th, 2125. Then that means that the trust is due to expire. Once that trust expires, all those assets have to be disposed. So they have to be distributed to the beneficiaries because the trust doesn't exist anymore because it was expired. That is up to you if you want the trust to expire or not. I will let you know if you are intentional about building generational wealth, then you don't want that trust to expire. You want it to stay, you want it to continue to be renewed for another 100 years. So now the trust exists for 200 years, and you can continue on this process continuously, okay? So that's the goal, especially like I said, if you are intentional about building generational wealth, okay? So let's continue on. So now there's several different types of trust. So we'll go through some different categories, okay? With these types of trusts, like I told you, there's hundreds of them. You have to determine which trust is best for you and your organization. So I'm gonna go through a couple different categories now so that you can understand what the difference is between these types, okay? So the first category that I want to tell you guys about is express versus implied. An express trust is a written trust. That means that it's in a contract style, right? And that means that there's a physical copy of it and you physically sign it, okay? So it's expressed in an actual contract, okay? Because this is a verbal agreement that actually comes into existence by way of a contract. All right, so that's an express trust. An implied trust is the verbal agreement, okay? So that is where you had a oral conversation with someone and you guys came up with provisions, and now you're going to start operating this trust, right? But that trust is very hard to hold up in court if you physically don't have documentation that that meeting happened and that those provisions exist, okay? So the next category that I want to tell you guys about is simple versus complex. A simple trust is shorter in nature and distributions are required, okay? That means that the trustee has to distribute a portion of the income to the beneficiaries. Now, on the contrary to that, you have a complex trust. A complex trust is longer in nature. That means that it has more rules, regulations, or provisions, and distributions are not required. So the trustee can decide not to give distributions and to hold that money inside of the trust for future investments or just to build up the working capital, okay? The next category that I want to tell you guys about is discretionary versus non-discretionary. So a discretionary trust is where the trustee has full discretion to be able to make decisions for the trust that are not inside of the contract, okay? So for example, if the contract doesn't say anything about crypto, but the trustee feels like the cryptocurrency is a really good investment at this time, that they could proceed with that investment. Now you have non-discretionary, which means that they are not able to make those types of decisions. So if it's not inside the contract, they cannot do it, okay? The next category that I want to tell you guys about is statutory versus non-statutory. So with a statutory trust, every single state has what we call laws, right? And those laws are called state statutes and they're called codes. So you have every single state has state statutes and codes, and those state statutes and codes are embedded inside of the trust. Because they're embedded inside of the trust, that state has regulation over regulation and jurisdiction over that trust. So usually that trust is registered in that state, which means that you have certain restrictions, which means that you can only use that trust in that state, okay? And so usually the trust is public information, and with that type of trust, usually that's the type of trust that you will get from attorneys, right? So they give you statutory trust and they put all of the laws and regulations in there, okay? On the contrary to that, you have non-statutory. So a non-statutory trust is where it's actually operating under the common law jurisdiction. So there's no state statutes or codes embedded inside of that contract, which means that the state where you set it up doesn't have jurisdiction over that trust. And that trust is going to remain private. It doesn't have to be registered with the state, okay? So people don't have to know of the existence of that entity, all right? The next category that I want to tell you guys about is revocable versus irrevocable. With a revocable trust, right? So when we're talking about revocability, we are only referring to one party in the contract. That one party that we're referring to is the grantor, which is the creator of the trust, okay? So with a revocable trust, that means that the grantor and the trustee can be the same person. That also means that the grantor is able to make changes to the trust, right? So if they set up a trust, they can make changes to the trust. They can remove the trustee. They can remove the beneficiaries or change them. They can also terminate the trust. And if they were to put assets inside of the trust, they can take the assets back. So because the grantor has so much control over the trust is actually seen as an alter ego, which means that it's seen as that individual. Actually, it's not seen as a separate entity, which means that whatever assets that you place into a revocable trust are not protected. They're not protected at all. So your assets are still at risk, okay? So that means that creditors can come after your assets. So you can get foreclosed on. If there's any lawsuits, they can come after you. So in the event that there is a lawsuit that might happen and your trust ends up in court, the judge can decide to pierce through a revocable trust. If the judge does that, then your trust then becomes a part of the public records and it's no longer private. So now everyone is going to know what's inside of your trust, meaning they're going to know all the assets that are inside. They're going to know the net worth. They're also going to know who your beneficiaries are. So that is a very risky position to be in. Now, let's talk about the other type of trust, which is an irrevocable trust. An irrevocable trust is where the grantor and the trustee is not the same person. So the grantor has irrevocability, meaning they have no power and no control over the trust. So once they set up the trust, then that means that they cannot take any, if they were to place any assets in there, they cannot take them back. They cannot make any changes or amendments to the trust. They cannot remove the trustees or the beneficiaries, okay? So because the trust is seen as a totally separate entity from the grantor and the trustee, that means that your assets are fully protected, because if someone is coming after you, they cannot touch the trust or the assets that are inside of the trust, okay? If that trust was to end up in a lawsuit, right, in some form of litigation, the judge would decide not to pierce through an irrevocable trust due to contract law. And if they don't pierce through that irrevocable trust, then that means that you get to maintain that sense of security and privacy for your trust estate, which is ultimately what you want. So with that being said, the type of trust that I recommend is for you to get a trust that is express in nature, that is discretionary, that is complex in nature, that is non-statutory, which means that you can use it in all 50 states, and that is irrevocable. So if you get an irrevocable trust, that means that you want to be the trustee and someone else has to be the grantor, okay? So that is what we call a bulletproof trust that becomes impenetrable and your assets are going to be fully protected. So let's continue on. How do you actually create a trust, right? That's what we came here to know and understand. Why want to know the steps that it takes, right? So the first thing that you need to determine is what type of trust you want to create. I just gave you a list of different categories. So, and I gave you the type of trust that I actually recommend, right? So you want an express trust where it's actually written. You want a discretionary trust so that you can make decisions for the trust that are not inside of the trust. You want a non-statutory trust so that you're not restricted only to one state, and you can use it in the entire nation and all of the US territories. You also want a complex trust so that you can decide what you want to do with the distributions. And lastly, you want an irrevocable trust so that it's seen as a separate entity from you and your assets are fully protected and no one is going to come to foreclose on or to sue you or anything like that. They cannot take the assets that are inside of an irrevocable trust, okay? So that's the type of trust that I recommend. If you're intentional about building generational wealth and you want to be fully protected while doing so, okay? So now number 2 is for you to determine a name for the trust. So now that you've decided that you want to set up a trust, now that you've decided the type of trust that you're going to set up, you need to determine a name for the trust. Just like how you have a name, just like how your business has a name, the trust also needs a name, okay? So now when you're naming the trust, there's 2 things that I want you to consider. The first thing is not to name the trust after yourself. So if your name is John Smith, do not name the trust the John Smith Trust, okay? That is very detrimental because obviously people are going to know that you are associated with that trust, okay? The whole reason for us to actually set up a trust is for privacy. We call that obscurity. So you don't want it to be a dead giveaway that you are the trustee of the trust, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is that you don't have to have the word trust in the actual name, okay? So you don't want people to know that it's a trust per se. They will know that it is an entity that you're operating, but let their minds wonder, right? They could think that it is a business, an LLC, or corporation, or any other type of entity, okay? So just be mindful of those 2 things. Usually people use terms like legacy, dynasty, holdings, things like that, okay? Now, the second part is that you now need to appoint the different parties in this actual contract. So remember, 1, you actually need to appoint a grantor, right? So remember, if you are wanting to set up that bulletproof trust, which is an irrevocable trust, you cannot be the grantor because the grantor has no power and no control. You only want to appoint yourself to be the trustee. The trustee has all the power. The trustee has all the control. So that's the position that you want to be in. So you're going to have someone serve as your grantor. You're going to appoint yourself as a trustee, and then you'll put your children as the beneficiaries, okay? And the other position is a successor trustee. So a successor trustee is someone who's going to take over after you once you're done controlling the trust. So in the event that you become incapacitated, in the event that you decide that you want to resign and you no longer want to operate the trust, or in the event that you expire, then someone needs to pick up where you left off. That someone is the successor trustee. So usually people will make their adult children or their next of kin, like a sibling, their successor. Okay, so just think about that because that's a very, very, very important position, because if anything happens to you and you didn't wake up tomorrow, someone needs to be able to continue to operate your legacy, okay? So the next one is for you to actually create the agreement. Remember, we said it's a contract, right? So you have to actually create this contract and you have to put special provisions inside of the contract. Some of the provisions that we use are called spendthrift provisions. So those are where you want to restrict what the beneficiaries can spend their distribution on, right? So the term that we like to use is control the money from the grave. That's exactly what you want to do. If you're the one who's building this legacy, if you're the one who's actually putting the wealth inside of this generational wealth estate that you're creating, then you also want to preserve it and make sure that the beneficiaries don't just go and spend it on frivolous things, right? So you want to put spendthrift provisions to let them know that they could spend their distribution on education or living expenses or investments or real estate, things like that. All right. So now that you have actually created your trust, right? You have your contract, you have all of your provisions in there. Now, everything is finalized. What you need to do is, in order for you to legalize your trust, it needs to be notarized, okay? So there's 2 signatures that are required. The first one is the grantor's signature as the creator. The second one is the trustee's signature as the fiduciary. Those 2 signatures need to be witnessed by a notary, and it needs to have the notary seal. That's what makes your contract legal. And that means that now that your trust is legalized, you're able to operate it, okay? So the first thing that you want to do when you go to operate your trust is, 1, you're going to apply for an EIN with the IRS. So you're going to go onto the irs.gov website. You're going to apply for an employer identification number for banking purposes. Okay, so they're going to then be able to issue you that 9-digit number with the IRS. It's very similar to a social security number. Okay, so just like how you guys operate with your name and your social, the trust is going to operate with their name, right? With its name, and a 9-digit number very similar to a social, which is an EIN, okay? So now that you have your EIN, now that you have your legal entity, you can go ahead and open up that trust fund. That trust fund is actually a bank account. So the different types of accounts that you can get for trust is a checking account. You can get a savings account. You can get a money market account. You can get a brokerage account. You can get a cash management account. The type of financial institutions that you can go to is a bank. You can go to a credit union, or you can go to a brokerage. All right. So all of those types of financial institutions offer trust accounts. Not every single bank offers a trust account. So what you need to do is you need to do your due diligence and your research to be able to see which banks that you want to establish a banking relationship with, okay? Once you find a bank that you want to establish a banking relationship with, what you're going to do is you're going to let them know that you want to open up a trust account. You're going to provide them with a certificate of trust. A certificate of trust is a 1-page document that shows that proves the identity of the actual trust. So it proves that the trust actually exists. So just like how you walk around with a driver's license that has a brief summary over you, right? So it has your name, your height, your weight, the color of your eyes, everything, right? So the certificate of trust has the name, who the grantor is, the trustee, the EIN number, a little bit of everything, okay? So you're going to provide them with that certificate of trust as well as your EIN number, and then they'll be able to open up that bank account for you. Once they open up that bank account for you, then you're going to fund the bank account, okay? So you put whatever minimum amount is. So you decide how much you want to put inside of that account. If you want to put $1,000, $100,000, whatever it is that you want, right? Some of these banks have minimums. Some of them are $0, some of them are $100, some of them are $500. It depends on the bank that you decide to establish a banking relationship with, okay? So now that you have funded that trust fund, you are locked, loaded, and ready to go, and you can start transferring assets inside of your account. So inside of your trust. So this is actually the most important step, you guys. It is vitally important, 1, that you transfer your assets legally inside of your trust, because if your assets are not transferred inside of the trust, they're not protected. Okay, so they have to be in the name of the trust. Okay, so what does that actually look like? Well, let's just say that you have a primary residence, right? You have a house. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. So let's just say that you guys have a house, right? And this house is in your personal name. right? And let's just say that you didn't wake up tomorrow and you have a son, you have a daughter, you have family, you got spouse, you got all these people, right? My question to you is, how do you expect that house that's in your personal name, how do you expect that to be legally transferred to your kids? So that's the question. How do you expect that to happen? You guys could come off mute, let me know. I'm here all by myself.
Without the trust, you do a will, it'll go into probate. The probate court will control where the house and assets go to.
Thank you so much, Mr. Antonio. I appreciate you. So he is absolutely right. So it is going to go straight into probate court, and it's going to be up to the court who gets the house or how the transfer of that deed is going to happen. So now that is the challenge, because a lot of people think that because they have a will, that their house automatically goes to their children. That is not true. Your house doesn't automatically go to your children just because you have a will, okay? So a will is your last will and testament. It is a legal document, but it's not an entity. So a will cannot own anything, okay? It can't own your house, your car, you know, your crypto account. It can't open up a bank account or anything, but a trust can. So that's the major difference. So will, to me, is very much like a wish list, where in that wish list, you're putting, I wish that my house will go to my daughter, right? But it doesn't mean that it's going to happen. And any family members can contest that will, right? So there needs to be a legal transfer. That means that you are the owner of that house. Your name is on the deed. You didn't wake up tomorrow. So now it's going to be up to the judge to be able to actually transfer that property, right? So you don't want that to happen. And I'll go through the probate process in just a moment, but you don't want that to happen. So because it's going to be up to a judge that doesn't know you, doesn't know your child, right? So what you want to do is you want to transfer your properties into the actual trust. So what does that look like, right? Well, this house that we're talking about, right? This beautiful house where your kids live, where you got a 30-year mortgage, all that good stuff. What you need to do is two things. The first thing is that it needs to be listed inside of the trust documents. It's going to be listed on the Schedule B, where you have all the list of all the assets that belong to the trust. The second thing is that you're going to fill out a quitclaim deed. In that quitclaim deed, you're deeding over that property. Remember, when you purchase that house, you probably got a warranty deed or a quitclaim deed for it, and your name is on it. So all you have to do is transfer that property from your personal name into the name of the trust. So now you're going to redeed the property from your personal name into the name of the trust. Now that you've executed this new deed, it needs to be recorded with the county. You're going to go down to the county, you're going to record the new deed, and now they are going to update the public records, and they're going to process your new deed to show that the trust is the owner of that property. Okay, so legally you've already done the paperwork necessary with the county. So now that asset is officially inside of the trust, which is what you want. Okay, so anything that's relating to that asset is going to be the trust responsibility. Okay, the trust is responsible for all of the assets, and that's financial, right? So the trust is responsible for all of the assets that are inside of the trust. So that house that you now put inside of the trust is responsible for the mortgage, for the utilities, for the maintenance, for the taxes, and any other thing that is associated with that asset, okay? So let's continue on. So the number one reason why you guys want to actually set up a trust is for asset protection. The second reason is privacy. The first reason is asset protection. You want to protect the assets that you currently have, right? So what type of assets can actually go inside of the trust? It could be any asset that you want. So it could be cash, it could be precious metal, It can be real estate, like houses and land. It could be a vehicle. It could be jewelry, an insurance policies, brokerage accounts, stocks, bonds, cryptocurrency, equipment, um, any type of weapons like guns. So anything like that can go inside of a trust, right? And then those assets are going to be fully protected from creditors and people who are trying to sue you, okay? So what can a trust actually protect you from? It can protect you from bankruptcies, from divorce, from foreclosures, from heavy taxations, from lawsuits, and also from probate, right? So we'll talk about just a few of these. So the first one let's talk about is divorce, because a divorce is a transfer of wealth, you guys, and a lot of people, they're unaware of that. With a divorce, it is literally like a lawsuit between two spouses, to where unfortunately one spouse might end up with everything and the other spouse might end up with nothing, right? And so with this type of situation, the way you can actually protect yourself is with this divorce, right? If you have your assets inside of a trust, and you go through a divorce, divorce is only going to include everything that's personal, meaning everything in your personal name, like your 401k, your pension, your checking account, your crypto account, your stocks, your bonds, whatever is in your personal name, the house, the car, the debt, all of that stuff is going to be included inside of divorce. What is not going to be included is whatever belongs to the trust, because you are not the trust and the trust is not you. So if the trust has assets, cash, a car, or any of that stuff, those things are protected and cannot be pulled into the divorce. The divorce is between you and the other individual, not the trust, okay? Another one is lawsuits, right? So when it comes to lawsuits, a lot of people, um, you know, a lot of people are not aware, right, that people want to sue them, right? We live in a very sue-friendly country. We live in the United States of America, and everyone wants to sue you, meaning your brother wants to sue you, your sister, your co-worker, your employer, your neighbor, your best friend. Everyone wants to sue you. So you don't want to wait until you're getting sued to protect yourself from a lawsuit, you guys. So what you need to do is you need to set up a trust, because in the event of a lawsuit, these assets that are inside of the trust are going to be protected, right? Because they're going to go after whatever is in your personal name. So for example, let's talk about an LLC, right? So let's just say you run a business. You're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you have an LLC, right? What does the term LLC stand for? Anybody know? Anybody on the call has an LLC?
Limited liability.
Limited liability. Okay, so it stands for limited liability company. So with this LLC, right, you actually hear it in the term. You hear it in the actual name of the entity. You have limited liability. So if the LLC, let's just say, has half of the liability, then who do you think has the other half of that liability?
You do, because
The
you personally put your name.
I do.
Exactly. Thank you. So you are also going to be liable for whatever happens in that business. So you don't want that to happen, right? So let's just say you're running a business. A lot of people don't know that they're a part of the public record. So did you guys know that you can go down to the Secretary of State, and if somebody wants to find out who owns your LLC, all they have to do is just go down to the Secretary of State, put the name of your business, and then all of the business information comes up, meaning the address, the phone number, the email, who the owner is, things of that nature. So if it's that easy for them to be able to find out who the owner is, you definitely do not want to be the owner on paper. That is a liability. Why? Because in the event that somebody wants to sue your business, then they can come after you personally. So if somebody is suing your LLC, right, and your LLC ends up in litigation, and let's just say that you lose that lawsuit, that judge can decide to pierce through that corporate veil. If the judge pierces through the corporate veil, that means that now they can go after you, the owner, the authorized member, right? So if they go after you, the authorized member, then what's going to happen is they could seize your assets, meaning they could seize that house, that car. They could also garnish your wages. They could garnish your bank account. So you don't want that to happen, which is why you don't want to be the owner of your LLC. You want to have a trust be the owner of your LLC, because the trust is now going to take full liability over that business. So the trust is going to have 100% liability on that LLC. So if anything happens with that LLC and somebody wants to sue that LLC, they're going to go after the trust, right? And the trust is just going to act as a holding company, and it's not going to physically have any assets in there, only the LLC, right? So in the event that that judge decides to pierce through that corporate veil, they're going to go after the trust, and they're not going to go after you, which is what you want. All right. So let's continue on. All right. So let's talk about probate. We have briefly mentioned it a few minutes ago. So with the probate process, right? A lot of us, we don't know that it's very important for us to have our affairs in order, right? Because we're all going to go through the probate process. It's absolutely inevitable, right? The only way to avoid probate is by actually having a trust, by setting up a trust and putting those assets into the trust, right? So what does this whole probate process looks like? Well, let's just say that you have, you know, this house that we've been talking about, right? You got this house, you got a 30-year mortgage, your family lives inside of this house, white picket fence, absolutely beautiful, right? And so with this primary residence, right? And you have a car, you have $500,000 in the bank, you have assets, right? In the event that you did not wake up tomorrow, right, all of those assets that you have need to be transferred. So what's going to happen is the state where you're a resident, they're going to create an estate for you. So a lot of us, we don't even know that we're going to end up with an estate anyways. You're either going to let the state of Texas do it, or you're going to do it, right? So the state where you live, they're going to create an estate for you, and then they're going to place all of your assets inside of that estate, okay? So now that they place the assets inside of the estate needs to be represented in probate court and needs to be represented by a probate attorney. So once the probate process starts, the first thing that the judge does is the judge is going to pay off your liabilities, right? So if you have debt, meaning if you have a credit card debt, if you have student loan debt, if you have, you know, if you have medical bills. So usually at that time during end of life, you end up having ICU bills, nursing home bills, hospital bills, things like that, right? So the judge ends up paying all of those things first, right? And then after they pay off all of your liabilities, then the probate attorney needs to also take their fees. And then the probate court is also going to take their fees. So you have all of these different agencies and people that are taking money from your estate. Because a lot of us, we just automatically assume that our children are going to get our assets, but that's not the case. So now that the the probate court took their fees. Whatever is left over is what your children get. So your children, they literally get the leftovers, you guys. And so sometimes, and I've seen it myself, to where they are in such a detrimental situation because they wanted to keep mom's house. They wanted to keep dad's house. And so they are in the probate process, either fighting each other or fighting to keep your property. And unfortunately, they can't do that because the judge decided to sell the house in order to pay Medicare and Medicaid. So you don't want that to happen. What you want is for your children to be able to grieve in peace because they just lost the most important person of their life, right? And so this is a very pivotal time for them. And so in order for that to happen, you want to have your affairs in order. You want to have your trust set up. You want to have all of your assets inside of your trust, because this whole entire process could be avoided and they won't even have to go through the probate process. So now let's look at this scenario where you actually set up your trust instead of you letting the state of Georgia do it for you, right? So remember, you're going to have an estate anyways. You might as well create your estate now while you're living, right? So let's just say that you got your affairs in order and you set up your estate. And then you transferred your house into the trust. You transferred your car into the trust. You opened up a trust bank account. You put that $500,000 into the trust, right? And you didn't wake up tomorrow. What's going to happen is your successor is going to pick up where you left off. Your successor trustee is now going to become the trustee, and that individual is going to continue to manage the trust and the assets that are inside of the trust. And the entire probate process is going to be avoided. Your children are your beneficiaries, so they're going to continue to benefit from the trust estate. And that debt that you had, that debt dies with you, right? So the medical bills, the nursing home, the credit card bills, the student loans, all of those bills, all of that debt, it actually dies with you because those creditors cannot come after your trust estate. So that is the situation that you want to be in, or that is how you want to transfer the wealth that you're creating right now. We're working so hard for these assets, but we're not protecting these assets, which is not ideal, right? So let's continue on. So let's talk about the wealth building formula, you guys. So I have 3 pillars here. I have structure, credit, and invest. So let's talk about structure. Structure is very important. Like I said, you want to be structured the right way, right? Because it's going to protect you in the long run, and it's going to ensure that you can reduce, heavy taxations. Now, with structure, you want to have the mindset that you're going to have multiple entities within your trust structure. So you're going to have multiple trusts within your structure, because if you have multiple assets, you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket. So you don't want to put all of your assets in one trust. Okay. So the 3 trusts that we talk about here is the business trust, the private family trust, and the tax exempt trust. So I'm going to break down all 3 of these trusts. So the first one is the business trust. We had spoke about it a little bit earlier where I was talking about the LLCs, right? So with this type of trust, you can use it in 2 ways. You can use it either as a holding company, to where it's going to hold other statutory entities. Those entities are LLCs and corporations, okay? So the business trust is going to be what we call non-operational. So it's not going to be providing any products or services out here to society, right? The only thing that it's going to be doing is it's going to be managing other legal entities that actually offer products or services. So that is the first way that you can use it. The second way that you can use it is as a regular business, right? So that's where it is offering products and services. So if you wanted to open up like a real estate company or like an e-commerce company or a restaurant, things of that nature, then you can set up a business trust, and that is going to, you can then operate a legal business entity with that structure, okay? So those are the two ways that you can operate it. So remember I told you earlier that with the business trust, what you want the business trust to do is you want the business trust to own your business. You don't want to own your business. You don't want to be the owner on paper because, like I said, you're already on the public records. You're listed as the authorized member of that LLC, and in the event that somebody wanted to sue you, they can come after you, and that means that they can come after your assets. You don't want that to happen. Unfortunately, I've seen it to where a lot of people they've waited until they got sued to do something about it, to protect the assets, right? And so you don't want to be in that situation. So what you want is the following, right? So you want the business trust to be the owner of your LLC. So what you're going to do is you're going to do an you're going to do an amendment to the articles of organization. So that means that you're going to amend your articles to remove yourself as the authorized member. You're going to add the business trust as the new authorized member of that LLC. And so now that you've processed it with the Secretary of State, the public records is now going to represent and show that the new owner of that business is a trust, right? And so now the trust is going to take 100% full liability over that business. And you, as the person, you have 0% liability, which is what you want, right? You want for the trust to be the first layer of protection between you and that company in the event that a customer or a client wants to sue your business, okay? You need that first layer of protection. So that's vitally important, okay? So now let's just say that this LLC has generated $100,000, right? So with this LLC, one of the beautiful things that I love about a trust is that you get to, spend the money first and then you're taxed on the leftovers. So that $100,000 that's in the LLC, it can be distributed straight to the owner, which is the business trust, okay? So now that money that's inside of the business trust, you get to do a lot of tax deductions, because a lot of the things that you're going to be doing when you're operating the trust it constitutes as operating expenses. We call them OPEX. So that can mean, for example, if you have a vehicle inside of the trust, all the things that's dealing with that vehicle, right? So if it's the car note, the gas that it takes, the maintenance that is required, okay? So those are all operating expenses because you use that vehicle in order to be able to conduct business, okay? So with that being said, let's just say that your operating expenses comes up to $30,000, right? So now you can deduct $30,000 from that $100,000 that just came in income. And so now you have $70,000 that's left, and you have to pay taxes on this $70,000. So a trust is taxed anywhere between 10% upwards of 39%. It just depends on the income that's coming in, okay? So you're going to have to pay taxes on that $70,000. One of the beautiful things that you can do is you can actually distribute that money to the beneficiary, and then the beneficiary is going to be required to pay taxes, all right? So what we do is we actually make the beneficiary of the business trust the family trust. Why? Because if you're operating your business, then the money that you need in order to sustain your family is going to come from the business, okay? So that's why we do it that way. Now, what's going to happen is since the family trust is the beneficiary of the business trust doesn't want to pay taxes on the 70,000. So the business trust is going to distribute that whole entire 70,000 to the family trust. So now on the business trust level, the tax liability is 0, right? So we, out of the 100,000 that came in, we wrote off 30,000 in taxes and we distributed 70,000. So now there's 0 that's left that we're going to pay taxes on, okay? So now let's go drop down to the private family trust. How do we actually use this structure, right? So the private family trust is an asset holding trust, and that is primarily for your personal assets. Your personal assets that has nothing to do with business, right? So your business assets are your entities like your LLCs and your corporations, as well as a business vehicle or a truck or a commercial vehicle, and then commercial real estate, or if you have rental properties, things of that nature. So those are considered, you know, business assets. So now on the family trust level, that's where you're going to put all your personal assets that has nothing to do with business. So that's going to be your brokerage accounts, your insurance policies, your primary residence where you and your family live, and any other types of investments that you have, okay? So now that we distributed $70,000 to the family trust, right? What is going to happen is that is going to be considered income. So that's going to be considered income for the family trust. And remember what I said a couple minutes ago. With a trust, you spend the money first and you're taxed on the leftovers. That is one of the most beautiful things about this entity, because it's the total opposite of how we're taxed as an individual, right? As an individual, we're taxed first and we spend the leftovers, right? And so it's the other way around with the trust. So now that this 70,000 has come in, we have operating expenses. What does that look like? Well, remember, you have your primary residence inside of the family trust. So because you have your primary residence inside of the family trust, anything dealing with that asset is a write-off, right? So you have mortgage, you have maintenance, you have taxes, you have utilities, right? So the house is owned by the trust, the utility accounts are in the name of the trust. These are all operating expenses for the trust, okay? And then you have insurance policies and premiums, things like that, right? So with this, let's just say that the family trust, the money that's inside of the family trust is going to be utilized to operate and run your family because your children are the beneficiaries. So let's just say it costs $50,000 in order to run and operate your family trust, right? So out of the $70,000 that just came in, operating expenses are $50,000. So now you have $20,000 that's left. So you're going to have to pay 10% on that $20,000, right? And so you could very much decide to do that. Or another thing that you can do in order to reduce your tax liability even more is you can provide donations to a charity. It could be any charity of your choice, right? It could be the Humane Society, it could be the Goodwill, it could be whatever, you know, foundation. So you're able to do that. And what we do here is we have a tax-exempt nonprofit trust that we use in order to receive donations. So what you can do is you can donate a portion of that to your tax-exempt nonprofit trust. So now that you've donated a portion of that, that is 100% deductible, right? And you are all done paying taxes with the private family trust. So now you have income that has come into the tax-exempt nonprofit trust, and it's not income, it's actually a donation, right? So you have to use the right terms when we're talking about this trust. So you have a tax-exempt nonprofit trust. There are different words that you can use to label this type of entity. One is a ministry. The other one is a church. The other one is a faith-based organization. So these types of faith-based organizations fall under the code 508C1A in the IRC, okay? So inside of the IRS code, we have something that is called a mandatory exception, meaning that if you're running a faith-based organization, because there's a separation between church and state, you are mandatorily exempt from having to file for a 501c3. So if you want to be exempt from federal taxes, you have to file a 501c3. But if you're running a faith-based organization, then you are automatically exempt from federal taxes and you don't have to file, okay? Due to that separation between church and state, which is a beautiful thing. So with this type of entity, like I said, you're exempt from federal taxes, okay? So that means that you don't have to file a 1041. A trust is required to file taxes. A trust files a 1041 form with the IRS if it's a for-profit entity. So your business trust, your family trust, those are considered for-profit entities, and they file a 1041. You as an individual file a 1040. So you can see already that this type of entity is seen as a separate entity from you, versus a lot of you guys, you'll file your business in with your 1040, right? So back to what we were saying. Now, with the tax exempt nonprofit, right? You are not required to file a 1041 unless you generate income that is more than $5,000. Now, you have to clearly define what is income versus how money is coming into this organization. So money can come in by way of a donation. It can come in by way of a tithe, a gifts, or a gift, right? So those are the three ways. So those, as long as money is coming in that way, then it's not going to be taxed. If you have money coming in and you're considering it an income, then anything over 5,000, you do have to file and pay taxes on, okay? So with this type of organization, you can operate it. It could be either religious based, it could be charitable in nature, or it could be education. So those are the three main reasons or reasons why you would operate this type of entity, okay? So one of the beautiful things that we do is we use the tax exempt nonprofit. I'm a strong believer that you need to have a for-profit entity and a nonprofit entity within your structure. It's absolutely necessary, right? Because the nonprofit entity is going to have you reduce your taxes. A lot of us, we are giving away half of our income to the IRS, especially in states like California and New York. So we need to stop doing that by operating and by one, being structured the right way, by two, operating the right types of entities, okay? So when it comes to your income, if you are a W-2 employee, the IRS will allow you to donate up to 60% of your annual gross income to a charity. That is a charity of your choice. They don't dictate who you can donate that to. So it can very well be a charity that you operate, okay? So you can donate up to 60% of your annual gross income to your faith-based organization, okay? Which is a good thing because now you're going to be saving thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on taxes. Why? Because, right, that 60% is a lot. So let's just say that you make $100,000 on your job, right? On your W-2 income. The IRS is going to allow you to donate 60,000 of it. That's 60%. So that means that now you only have 40,000 that you're going to be taxed on, right? That is absolutely life-changing because now that money that you have donated to your tax-exempt organization can be allocated in other places, including investments like real estate, crypto, stocks, bonds, you name it, right? Or it could also be borrowed out and used and allocated in other places as well, okay? So with this type of organization, right, with the faith-based organization, like I said, you're automatically exempt from federal taxes, right? You can qualify to be exempt from other types of taxes, meaning state taxes, county taxes, city taxes, sales taxes, property taxes, okay? So you have to think about that, because with this type of entity, as long as it's within your structure, it's going to allow you to save on taxes, and that money you can be putting it somewhere else, okay? So let's continue on, you guys. Let's move on to the next pillar, which is credit. With credit, let me check the pulse actually. So how is everybody doing? Are you guys getting some value and some information? We got about maybe another 20 minutes and then we're done. Are you guys enjoying this? If so, come off mute or put some fires in the chat. Let me know how you guys are enjoying the webinar so far.
The information is legit. Thank you.
I have
Yes,
never
ma'am.
heard
Thank
this
you.
amount of information in such a short amount of time. It's
She has
very
All
the
right.
She has the gift of gab. That's
You're phenomenal. You're
All
phenomenal.
right.
Thank
Okay,
you.
okay,
Thank
okay,
you, Christina. Thank you. You're
You are
amazing.
Awesome. Awesome.
Top
all
tier.
right.
Awesome.
Okay, I appreciate this. Okay, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I thought that I was just talking to a blank screen here, but I see that y'all still in the room and y'all with me. So let's go. All right, guys. So we got about maybe another 15, 20 minutes or so, and we're going to land this plane. I'm going to open up the floor for Q&A. So please let me know what questions that you have based off of the information that I'm going through now, okay? So we got about maybe 2.5 more slides and then we're done, okay? So thank you for staying for the entire presentation. I appreciate you guys. And now let's head back over to the slides. All right, so we are right now in the middle column where we're going to be talking about credit, okay? Credit is OPM, right? So what you need to do is you need to build wealth using OPM, using other people's money, using the bank's money, okay? The bank is doing that to you. The bank is using your money in order to be giving out these loans to the people, right? And they're making all this money on interest. So you need to do what the banks are doing. You also need to be making money off of other people's money, okay? So with that being said, 2 things that I need you to know of. The first thing is that you guys qualify for grants, okay? So you can qualify for grants with your business, or you can qualify for grants with your nonprofit. So just keep that in mind, because that is a form of OPM, okay? So the next thing is credit. So you guys can actually build credit with your business trust. A lot of people, they don't know that, but the way that it works is your business trust is going to get an EIN. EIN stands for Employer Identification Number, okay? And so you can actually build business credit off of that EIN. Just like an LLC builds business credit off of an EIN, just like a corporation builds credit off of an EIN, you too can build business credit off of your EIN for your business trust, okay? So that's exactly what you want to do, because now you're going to be putting yourself in a position to where the trust, you can now leverage the credit of the trust, right? So you have your own personal credit, which is cool, but you want to have a second credit profile that you can leverage, because the minute that you start doing these inquiries, your score is going to drop. And so, and you don't want that to happen on the personal side. And so with the business side, it doesn't affect as much. Businesses can get higher lines of credit, right? So you can get lines of credit, you can get loans, you can get credit cards. All right. So on the personal side, they might give you a credit card for 10,000, 15,000. On the business side, they'll give you a credit card for $100,000. So that is the position that you need to put your estate in, because Once you get that line of credit or that credit card for 50,000, 70,000, 100,000, you can then strip that credit card. You can utilize that credit card in order to allocate those funds to an investment. Okay, an investment like real estate, an investment like other types of investments, crypto, stocks, index funds, whatever it is that you want, right? So that is the position that you need to put yourself in. This is going to take a mindset shift. It is going to take a mindset shift to where we are not going to put ourselves in the position to where we're using our own money. That is not what we want to do. You are not going to get rich off of using your own money. You are going to have to leverage debt in order to acquire the asset that you need in order to become financially free. Okay? And so that is why it's so vitally important to start building that credit for the business trust. Okay? It is not required, it's optional if that's what you want to do. But I highly recommend that you use another type of entity so that you can leverage another credit profile and not just only be using yours, okay? So let's move on to the next one, which is invest. There's two investments or assets. I like to say assets, actually. So there's two assets that I absolutely recommend and love so much, okay? The first one is an index universal life insurance policy. The second one is real estate, okay? So we're going to talk about both. So let's tackle the IUL. So IUL is index universal life, okay? That is actually a life insurance policy. A lot of people think that life insurance is supposed to be used when they are dead. In actuality, life insurance is supposed to be used when you are living. There are a lot of living benefits with life insurance, with these types of policies, right? So one, they are liquid. So meaning that the cash that you have in there that's accumulating is liquid. You can take it out whenever you want. You can borrow against it. You could collateralize it whenever you want. Two, you are going to be putting money into the policy and it's going to be growing tax-free. So the IRS is not going to touch your IUL policy. The money that you have in there, they're not going to touch it unless you go over whatever the maximum is that you had set when you set up the policy. Okay? So with these types of policies, the things that I love so much is that with this policy, you're going to be building what we call cash value. So every time that you make a premium payment, right? So let's just say you made $100 payment today. 80 of it goes to cash value. The other 20 goes to the cost of actually doing business, which is the cost of the insurance. Okay. So that $80 that you are accumulating is being accumulated in cash value. That is money that you can have access to. That money is actually going to earn compound interest, which is what you want. So what is, compound interest, right? So in the term IUL, index universal life, you hear the term index, right? You see it, index. What are we referring to? With the IUL, it actually mirrors an index in the stock market. So what is an index, right? An index is referring to an indice. You have many different types of indices in the stock market. You have the Dow Jones, you have the NASDAQ, you also have the S&P 500. The most popular one is the S&P 500. S&P stands for Standard & Poor. 500 is referring to the top 500 companies in this country, in the United States. Okay, so that is your companies like Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, all of these big brands, right? So with that being said, what the insurance carrier does is your policy is mirroring the market. So that means that if the S&P 500 is doing 9%, then what the insurance company is going to do is they're going to match that 9%, and they're going to give you a 9% return on your cash value. So if you have $100,000 in there in cash value, right, you're going to earn 9%, right? So if the market did 10%, you're going to earn 10%, right? And so that is definitely what you want, because now you're putting yourself in a position to where your money is making money for you. That is what compound interest is, right? That money that is being earned in there, it's compounding on top of the interest. The interest is compounding and compounding and compounding and compounding. That is how you're going to start to build wealth, right? You want to put yourself in a position to where your money is making money for you. Now, the way that we tie this in with the trust is going to be the owner of your life insurance policy. The trust is going to pay the premiums of your life insurance policy. The trust is going to be the beneficiary of your life insurance policy. The life insurance policy also has a death benefit, right? So remember, your life is insured. So I personally, I have my trust has 5 IUL policies, 5, okay? So in the event that something was to happen to me, right? My life is insured. In the event that I didn't wake up tomorrow, my policy has a death benefit of 2.3 million. So that 2.3 million is going to go straight to my trust fund, right? So that is the way that you want to set it up. And I'm going to give you some strategy in just a minute, right? So, that is how you're going to tie your life insurance policy with your trust. And remember, this is an asset, right? It is what we call is a liquid asset, right? And then you have your tangible assets, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So what you want to do is, with this type of policy, because it earns compound interest, because there's liquidity, because you're actually accumulating cash inside of this policy tax-free. You're not paying no taxes on it, which is what you want, right? What you want to do is you want to put yourself in a position to where you pay yourself first. Because a lot of us, we are so used to paying ourselves last. And I will tell you, this takes a mindset shift, because we are already in this vicious cycle. And so it's going to take us to look at something. It's going to take us to look at this, formula differently, so that we're able to do things differently in our lives. If you want your life to change, you have to change the things in your life. If you want your life to change, you have to change the things in your life, right? So let me tell you what it looks like to pay yourself first, right? Because we have subscribed to the system. What does the system tell us? The system tells us that we have to work 40 hours a week for 40 years, retire when we're 65. Who the hell wants to start living at 65? Who the hell wants to be able to, buy back their time at 65? That is too late. I tell people, you want to retire young. I was able to retire at 30 years old. 30 years old. It was in 2020. I walked away from the hospital. Remember, in the beginning of the call, I told you guys I was a registered nurse. I told myself that I was only going to be in that career for 10 years. I retired myself in 8 out of the 10 years. I don't have to work another day in my life, right? And so it took a mindset shift. And that's what I'm about to tell you guys. It's going to take a mindset shift for you to break these generational curses and for you to get out of the system, right? The system has us where? They have us in this vicious rat race. right? And so you're going to have to cut those ties in order to get out of the rat race, right? So what does it look like? So let's just talk about it. Let me break it down real quick, okay? Because I get real crazy about this kind of stuff. So let's just say you're a W-2 employee, right? You're a W-2 employee and you just got paid today. What is the first thing that happens? So let's talk about it, you guys. What's the first thing that happens when you get paid?
Taxes are taken out first.
Thank you. We got a genius in the room. Thank you so much. Oh my God,
Yes,
I love
ma'am.
you. I love you. Okay. She gets an A+, okay? Because
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
y'all in school right now, okay? You guys are in school right now. So she gets the A+. The first thing that happens before you even see your paycheck is the IRS takes their cut. After that, you have Medicare, you have Social Security, and then if you are contributing to your 401k, the 401k company too. That is 4 organizations: IRS, Medicare, Social Security, 401k. They have all taken a portion of your paycheck before you see your paycheck. Okay. So now that they've taken their cut, what is the next thing that happens? I want to hear it. I'm not going to say nothing. We're just going to stay stuck right here.
Bills.
Okay. So
Expenses.
the next, huh?
Expenses.
Okay, we getting there. We getting there. The next thing that happens is that money is direct deposited into your bank account. Who do you guys bank with?
Axos. Nationwide Axos Bank.
Okay.
Wells Fargo.
Okay. All right.
PNC.
Who?
Maybe Federal.
Navy.
PNC.
Okay.
Navy
PNC.
Federal.
Okay. All right. So now that it's Friday, it's payday. Everybody already took their cut, direct deposited into your bank account, right? So now your money has been direct deposited into your bank account. And what is the next thing that happens, right? Well, a lot of us, we don't even know that we're making the banks richer, because the bank is actually pimping our money out, right? So they are leveraging our money in order to give out student loans, credit cards, mortgages, car loans, right? They're leveraging our money. And how much are we getting in return? So they're making 15%, 20%, 30%, 35%. And how much are we getting?
1%.
Point zero 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 one.
Exactly. Exactly. Let's be honest. Like, you're getting nothing, right? You're getting
Yes.
0.00 nothing.
That's not even a penny.
Whatever, pennies. You're getting pennies. So you are actually making the banks richer. And a lot of people think that the banks are getting rich off of these loans, right? Off of giving out the student loans and the credit cards and everything like that. But the banks, their number one asset, their
Interest.
number one asset is life insurance policies. They are called BOLIs, BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. Look it up, Google it. Anything that I tell you tonight, Google it. Do your research. Do your due diligence. Don't just take my word for it, okay? Now, so the banks are getting rich off of their BOLIs, right? That's their number one asset. So if the bank's number one asset is life insurance, do you also think that your number one asset should be life insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So that's what I'm telling you. We need to follow the formula that the banks are doing, right? So what are they doing? The banks are investing in life insurance, and they're also using OPM, other people's money, right? So that's the formula. That is what you're going to do. You're going to have investments or assets, your number one assets, life insurance, and you're going to be using OPM. Please do not use your paycheck in order to build wealth, right? Use OPM, other people's money, in order to build wealth, okay? So now let's get back to our story here. So your money just got direct deposit into Navy Federal, PNC, Wells Fargo, right? And so now they're out here leveraging it, using it for whatever they need to use it for, right? So what is the next thing that you do?
Pay yourself.
No, that's not the next thing that you do. The next thing that you do is you pay your
Just
mortgage
pay your
and you pay
bills.
your rent.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the minute that your money comes into your bank account, you out here paying your rent, paying your mortgage, paying your car note, putting gas in the car, putting groceries in the refrigerator, paying your insurance, paying taxes, the kids tuition, credit cards, you paying everything. So you're literally paying all of these companies first before you pay yourself. Before you pay yourself. So now let's just say 5,000 just came into your bank account, right? Into direct deposit. By the time you done paying all your bills, you probably have $700 left because you done paid the mortgage, which was a big chunk of that money, groceries, gas, so you could get to work tomorrow, right? So out of that direct deposit that just came in, you got $700 left. What do you do with that $700? You literally just leave it sitting in your checking account. And remember, it's earning zero. Or if you're smart, you'll go ahead and put it in a high yield savings account, maybe, right? Maybe you'll transfer it to another account, right? So that is us being in this vicious cycle where we're in this hamster wheel where we're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Every 2 weeks, we're doing the same thing over and over again. So we need to cut the cords with that vicious cycle, and we need to do things differently. So what you're going to do is, instead of you doing it the way you've always done it, you're going to pay yourself first instead of paying yourself last. Because literally, you're getting the leftovers. After the IRS, after Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, 401k, after the mortgage bill, the light bill, the water bill, the gas bill, whatever is leftovers is whatever's left over is what you get to keep. And you either spend it or you just leave it there. So instead of you getting the leftovers, and that's what a lot of us, we do. We save the leftovers. We save the leftovers so that we can then put towards investments, put towards assets, put it in places hoping for it to grow, right? And I just need you to know that we're not going to build wealth or get rich or any of that stuff using our paycheck, using the money that we trade our time for, right? The way that you build wealth is by having your money make money for you. You do not have to work for money. OPM, use other people's money, park it in a vehicle where that money is going to multiply, where it's going to double, triple, quadruple. That's what compounding is. So back to our scenario. You got the leftovers, right? So what you want to do is you want to, with this new mindset shift and you doing things differently, you want to pay yourself first instead of paying yourself last. So the way that you're going to do that is the minute that you get that direct deposit, instead of you paying your mortgage, your utility bills, gasoline, and groceries, what you're going to do is you're going to funnel that money into your index universal life insurance policy. So now your cash value goes up by almost 5,000, right? There's a little bit of, cost of doing insurance, but let's just say it goes up to 4,800, right? So now you funneled in that 5,000, it goes up to 4,800, and you're going to be earning compound interest. So if the S&P 500 is doing, 9%, then you're going to get 9% returns on that 5,000, right? So now your money is making money for you. And what's going to happen is you need that money, in order to pay your bills. So what you're going to do is remember, this is a asset. And so what you're going to do is you're going to borrow against the cash value, right? So you're going to request a loan from the IUL company, from the life insurance company. You're going to request a loan, and it's going to be based off of your cash value, right? And so they're going to look at your cash value. They're going to see, okay, he has $4,800. We could lend him $4,600. They're going to issue you a loan. It's going to be a direct deposit straight into your bank account. Those funds are going to come from the life insurance company's reserves. So life insurance companies are a million times better than banks because they actually have to have the money in there. They actually have to have the reserves in there versus banks, right? Banks, they don't have to have what you digitally see on the screen, they don't have it, right? So with the life insurance policies, once you request a loan, they're going to issue you a loan from their own money, from their reserves. And your money is going to stay inside of your policy working for you, okay? It's going to stay intact as if you never touched it, which is what you want, okay? So now they direct deposit $4,600 back into your bank account, okay? And so now you have that money available for you to be able to do what you need to do, which is pay your rent, which is put gas in the car so you can make it to work tomorrow and put food on the table, okay? So that this is a 24-hour turnaround. It could be done in a very short period of time, just depending on the different carriers, okay? So that is what paying yourself first looks like. And that's the position that you want to put yourself in. That's the position that you want to put yourself in. Is so vitally important for us to unsubscribe to what the system wants for us. Because if we go based off of the system, they're going to have us retire at 65, depending on Social Security. That's non-existent. Okay. And so you need to build your own retirement plan, right? And you, like I said, you do not have to wait until you're 65. This is insane. I don't even understand why people do that. When I was a nurse, I had, and that was in my 20s, I had a coworker, and she was 60. How old was she? She was 65 or 66. And so she was waiting until she was like 67 and a half or 67, 68 to retire so that she could get a little bit more money, so that she could get an extra $500 per month or something. And she never made it. She never made it to retirement. She got off work one day. She was so exhausted, she hit a tree. So I don't want you guys to be in that position to where you're waiting and waiting and waiting. We need to take action now. So let's move on to the next thing, which is real estate. Okay, that's my favorite thing to do. Remember, I told you guys, right? I am a real estate investor. That's my first company that I created when I was 25 years old, flipping houses. Okay, so with real estate, this is your tangible asset, you guys. A trust can actually own real estate, right? A trust can get a mortgage. A trust can get a home equity line of credit, right? And so this is exactly what you want to do. You want to put the trust in a position to where it's generating its own income. You do not want to be pouring in your W-2 money into the trust, sustaining the trust. The trust has to sustain itself. And so the way you're going to do that is by what I'm telling you, which is actually using OPM, getting business credit for the business trust so that you can leverage that to buy houses, right? And so that's exactly what you're going to do. So one, the trust can qualify for a mortgage. What does it need in order to qualify for a mortgage, right? You need approved income. So you're going to be providing bank statements, or you're going to be providing tax returns, okay? So that's the two things that's required, okay? Now, remember we said that we are building business credit for the business trust. We're going to use that credit. So let's just say that we are ready to invest in real estate, right? What you want to do is you want to get income producing assets. So that means that you want to get investment properties where you have tenants inside of them, okay? So these tenants are going to be paying you, right? And so these properties are going to be cash flowing. So let's just say you're going to buy investment property, right? With this investment property, what you're going to do is you're going to get a DSCR loan, right? DSCR, do your research, okay? DSCR loan is a debt service coverage ratio loan. This is an investment loan for real estate that's given to entities, okay? And so you're going to get this type of loan. They'll give you up to 80% of the LTV, loan to value, okay? So that's 80% of the purchase price, right? So they're going to give you 80% of the purchase price for this real estate, which is absolutely phenomenal. So now all you have to do is come up with 20%. How are you going to get 20%? Remember, we talked about credit. Remember, we talked about OPM. So what you're going to do is you're going to go right back to that business trust that you established business credit. You're going to strip that credit card. Let's just say you got the credit card for the $50,000 with PNC. You're going to go ahead and strip that credit card, and you're going to use that as a down payment for the real estate. But before you even use it as a down payment for real estate, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to funnel that money into your index universal life insurance policy. That $50,000 is going to increase your cash value. It's going to be earning compound interest. That is the first way that the $50,000 is going to work for you. Money works for you. You don't work for it. Money is designed to be pimped out by you. And what it's going to do is going to go out. It's going to work. It's going to bring back friends. Money is going to get pregnant. It's going to make babies. Every single dollar that goes out brings back 10 cents. That is what you're setting up here. So the $50,000 that you just took out of your credit card, you're going to put it inside of your index universal life insurance policy. That money is going to sit inside of your cash value. It's going to be available for you to borrow against when you're ready to put down on the real estate. Now a month later, however long it takes, you found the house. You're going to borrow the money from your life insurance policy, right? So let's just say it's, $49,000, right? That $49,000 is going to go direct deposit into the trust. You're going to use it as a down payment for the real estate. So now you just bought the real estate, zero down. How did you buy the real estate zero down? Because you use a debt service coverage ratio loan for 80%, and because you use a business credit card or line of credit for the other 20%. That is 100% financing, which means that it's requiring $0 of your own money. That is how you're going to build wealth using other people's money. That is how you're going to put the trust in a position to where it's funded and it's self-sustained. And you're going to rinse and repeat this method. You're going to do it again with a second property and a third property and a fourth property. But now, this property that you just acquired, it is generating cash flow because you have tenants in there that's paying you rent, right? So now that it's generating cash flow, where is that money going?
Into the insurance. Yep, index. Yes, ma'am. I'm growing it. It's making more babies. Yes, ma'am.
I'm so excited. Oh my God, listen, if I don't have to do nothing else, my work here is done. I'm telling you, if the dots ain't connected, I don't know what is. So
You're a great teacher. You're a great professor.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it. I love what I do, you guys. So with that being said, she is absolutely right. What happens is that cash flow that you're generating in that income producing property, that money first is going to go into the IUL policy, okay? So it's going to go into the IUL policy, and guess what? You're building cash value. Guess what? You're earning compound interest. Guess what? Whatever the S&P 500 is doing, they are going to be mirroring your policy mirrors the market. Your policy is not in the market, so it's not taking any risk. So whatever the market is doing, the carrier is going to match that and give you those returns, okay? So now that cash value went up, you went and borrowed out the money again to go ahead and pay the mortgage and the line of credit. And then whatever is left over goes inside of your trust account for operating expenses, okay? So that is the process that you want to take. And that is what we call the wealth building formula, okay? That is the formula that it takes in order for you to build generational wealth for the trust, okay? That is what you're doing. That is why you're here. I hear you talking about generational wealth, right? And there's no way for you to be building generational wealth if you don't have a trust, okay? So let's talk about it. So how do you actually transfer wealth? I never heard you say that. I never heard you say that you already know how to transfer wealth, right? I hear it all the time. I'm building generational wealth. I'm building generational wealth. Do you have the tools to build generational wealth? Because if you don't have a trust, then you out here lying, right? So I'm going to tell you what the tools are, right? But what you need to do is put yourself in a position to where you own nothing but control everything. And I'm going to say it again because I'm passionate about this. You're going to put yourself in a position to where you own nothing but control everything. That is what stewardship is. Stewardship is where you're being a good steward of your assets, where you're managing them, where you're controlling them, where you're the fiduciary and making sure that they are directed, your money is directed in the right way, your assets are directed in the right way. That's what you need to be operating in. You need to be operating in stewardship versus how you're operating now. Right now, you're operating in ownership, meaning that you walking around here in society talking about how you the proud owner of the house that's on 123 Main Street. I understand that it was an accomplishment for you to get your beautiful house with the white picket fence. I get it. But you don't have to be on the public records. You don't have to be the owner on paper. You have to understand that the way that you are operating right now in ownership, you putting your whole family at risk. Because they could literally take your house away from you and kick you out. Or if anything was to happen to you, your kids are not going to get it. So it's not a good idea for you to be walking around here being the proud owner of that house or operating in ownership. Because you have to understand, right? What you want is control. That house that you live in right now, that you paying the mortgage on right now, that house is designed to outlive you. Meaning that if you don't wake up tomorrow, guess what? That house is still going to be there. So in all actuality, what you really wanted was control of the house while you were living. That's what you really wanted. Not ownership, control. And that's what you get with a trust. With a trust, you get control over that asset. Why? Because the trust is the owner of the house and you're the trustee. So you control the trust, you control the house. That's the way that you need to be set up. So please operate in stewardship, not ownership. Now, let's talk about how to actually transfer wealth. Because that's the last thing that you was thinking about. You so focused on making the money. I want the $1 million. I want the 6-figure salary. I want the 7-figure business. That's what you so wrapped around making the money that you never ask yourself, how am I going to transfer this money? How am I going to transfer this wealth? How am I going to transfer this property? So this is how you do it. 1, you're going to set up a trust. 2, the trust is going to generate trust certificate units, which stands for TCUs. TCU, trust certificate units. So you know how a corporation has stock certificates. A trust has trust certificates. So the stock certificates represent ownership in that corporation. The trust certificates represent beneficial interest in that trust. So when you establish your trust is established with 100 trust certificates. That is representing 100% of the beneficial interest that's in your trust. So let's just say that you have 4 beneficiaries. Those are your 4 kids, right? And you wanted to distribute the trust certificates and you wanted to do it evenly, then that means that you'll give 25 trust certificates per child. Okay? So now let's just say I'm one of your children. I have 25 TCUs in your trust, right? So that means I have 25% of beneficial interest in your trust. Let's just say that your trust has a net worth of $1 million. That means that I'm entitled to, I want to say it this way. That means that I have a beneficial interest of $250,000. So if that trust was to expire today, then the trustee will sign over a check for $250,000 to me. Let's just say that the trust owned 10 houses, right? Then that means that I would be entitled to 2.5 of those houses. So that is how you're going to transfer wealth. because all the wealth is going to be in one entity, which is the trust. And you're going to have trust certificates that you're going to distribute to the people that you want to benefit from the trust. So that's going to be either your spouse, your siblings, your parents, your children, whoever you want. Okay? So let's talk about the next topic, which is preservation. Because I never heard you say, how am I going to preserve my wealth? I just don't hear those things. The only thing that I hear is, I'm building generational wealth. But there are tools that you need in order to build generational wealth, which I'll tell you right now. So, why is it that we see lottery winners, we see athletes, celebrities, famous families, they come into all of this wealth and they either lose it in their generation and go broke, or it doesn't even make it to the second or third generation? The reason why that happens is because they don't have the tools for preservation. So they one, don't have a trust, right? And two, the second tool is life insurance. So in order to preserve your wealth, there's two tools: a trust and life insurance. That is how you're going to preserve your wealth, right? So this is the way that it works. So the trust has many assets. The trust owns a car. So guess what? The trust has car insurance. The trust owns a house. So guess what? The trust has homeowners insurance. Right? So with that being said, the trust is going to insure all of its assets. You are a human asset in the trust because you're the trustee. So if anything happens to you, the trust is going to be devastated. So the trust needs to be compensated for that loss. So the way that we structure it is, the trust is going to take out a policy on you and all of the human capital or human assets that is associated with the trust, meaning you and the current beneficiaries and all of the future beneficiaries. So if anything was to happen to you, remember, the trust needs to be compensated. So if you have a death benefit of $1 million and you didn't wake up tomorrow, guess what? That death benefit goes straight to the trust, and now the trust is replenished with $1 million. Remember, you are the most important person to the trust, right? You are the authorized representative. You do everything for the trust, right? So the trust needs to insure you, okay? Now, the trust is going to insure the beneficiaries and all of the future beneficiaries. It's so vitally important. And those beneficiaries and future beneficiaries, those are called trust fund babies. That's where the term comes from. Right? When you have a baby that's born into the trust, that is a trust fund baby. So we need to normalize trust fund babies in our community. It is a good thing. Out here in society, they have a negative connotation for trust fund babies. Those people are seen as spoiled brats. A trust fund baby is what you want within your family. That's what that generational wealth is. You have kids, your kids are taken care of because of the work that you're doing right now. Because you are on this call figuring out how to establish an estate to leave them a legacy. So let's normalize trust fund babies in our community. Now, let's just say that you have a trust fund baby that's born into the trust. The minute that that baby is 30 days old, the trust is going to take out a policy on that baby. It's going to be an index universal life insurance policy. And now the trust is going to be paying, let's just say $100 a month premium. So now that trust fund baby is actually going to be earning compound interest because their life is insured and because they're building cash value. That cash value is mirroring the market and earning compound interest. Fast forward into the future. That trust fund baby has now turned 18 years old and is ready to go to college. So what do they need? Right? Besides tuition, besides room and board, they need a car. So that trust fund baby can easily go down to the dealership, can get a car loan for $30,000, and now they're going to be paying $900 a month to the dealership. Or an alternative to that is because they're a trust fund baby, they can go straight to the trust. They can go to the trust and ask for a loan. They can request a loan from the trust for $30,000. So with the trust, trustees and beneficiaries can take out loans and also give loans to the trust. So now this trust fund baby has requested a loan for $30,000. So the trustee approves the loan, writes them a check for $30,000, hands it to the trust fund baby, and that trust fund baby goes and buys a car cash. So instead of them getting roped up with the dealer and high interest, what they're going to do is they're now going to make small payments, $250 to the trust, because the trustee made them sign a promissory note, okay? So now, let's just say, fast forward a year into the future, that beneficiary, that trust fund baby, decides to default. They no longer want to pay $250 a month to the trust. That is completely okay because it was a risk-free loan. Why? Because the money did not come out of the trust fund. The money came out of that beneficiary, that trust fund baby's life insurance policy. So what happened was the minute that that beneficiary requested a loan for $30,000, the trustee contacted the insurance company and requested a loan for $30,000. That $30,000 was direct deposit into the trust fund, and that check was issued to the beneficiary. That was a risk-free loan because the money came from the life insurance carrier's reserves. It did not come from the trust fund, which means that that money is going to be automatically deducted from the death benefit. That loan does not need to be paid back, ever. which means that the trust eventually is going to be paid back, because once that beneficiary expires, that death benefit of $3 million is going to go straight to the trust fund. And now the trust is replenished with $3 million. That is what preservation of wealth looks like. That is what you need to be implementing in your estate. Your trust needs to take out a life insurance policy on every single person associated with the trust, meaning you, the trustee, meaning the beneficiaries, and all of the future beneficiaries. The trust needs to be the owner of the policy. The trust needs to be paying the premium, and the trust needs to be the beneficiary, so that if anything, if and when anything happens to you or the beneficiaries, that trust is compensated. That death benefit goes straight to the trust fund continues to replenish frequently. That is how you're going to ensure that the wealth that you are accumulating now, that you are building now, actually lasts the generations that you want it to last, right? You want it to last the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th generation. So there's two tools that you need: a trust and life insurance. These are the books that I recommend. I recommend What Would the Rockefellers Do? That's a really, really, really good book that teaches you about how life insurance policies and trusts are married. The next one is The Art of Passing the Buck, Volume 1 and 2, that teaches you guys about trusteeship. The next one is Family Wealth, which teaches you how to run your business, how to run your family like a business, where you are the CEO of your family, where your spouse is the CFO of your family. It's called a family office. And the last one is The Complete Book of Trust, which teaches you about the different types of trust. Remember, I told you there's hundreds of different types of trust. You have to choose the right trust for you, for your family, for your business, for your charity. So take action on the information that I provided you guys with tonight. I'm going to show you a 1-minute video about a gentleman who took action on the information that I provided tonight.
Well, kudos to you all. Again, Christina, it's been a wonderful experience. I've been looking at your videos on YouTube for a while. And, there are a number of people offering trust these days. And, I guess that's the big thing, don't own anything, control everything. That kind of, I didn't say it correctly, but that is the sentiment. And so it seems like the playing field is being leveled now from the rich and people who weren't privy to this information. So thank you for being such a great asset to a community that didn't have this information. And you made it so simple. Thank you for the recordings. Thank you for the step-by-step instructions. Things that we can go back and look at. So we do appreciate you. And thank you, Mondo. That was a great explanation of infinite banking. I know a number of people are talking about that, but they make it so complex. And his presentation was nice and succinct and very informative. So this has been an overall great experience. I definitely will recommend you to others.
All right, guys. So take action on the information. If I could turn the video off, that would be great. So take action on the information that I provided tonight, because trust can actually change your entire life. It can change the trajectory of your kids' life, of your life, your kids' life, your kids' life, the kids' life, and on, right? It could be your new form of doing business. It could be your new way of making money. It could be a new way of you protecting your assets and saving on taxes. you want to take the information that I gave you guys tonight, like take it serious. Like this is like life or death. Your livelihood is on the line because you never know. So you want to treat this like a big business, not like no little small mom and pop shop, okay? You want to look at yourself, your legacy, your estate like a big organization, okay? So with that being said, let's work together. I do have a course where you can learn this information. So you have three options here. The first option is do it yourself. That's for people who want to learn independently. Okay, so that means that I have a course. It has 43 video modules, and you're going to be able to get access to the 3 trust templates. Okay, so remember, I spoke to you guys about 3 trusts: a business trust, a family trust, and a tax-exempt nonprofit trust. So inside of the program, I give you the templates for all 3 trusts, okay? I'm gonna show you what the templates look like, okay? But inside of these templates, these are the contracts that you need in order to set up the trust. So you don't have to start from scratch. Our trusts have all of the provisions in there in order to protect your assets and in order to protect you from any lawsuits and for you to go through litigation. So with the course, you get lifetime access to the course. So in 2-3 years into the future, if you wanted to log in and create a new course, you can. It also comes with resources and ebooks. So all of the books that I mentioned earlier, you get the electronic version complimentary with the program. Some of those books cost $800 and more. And so you get it absolutely free with the program. Another thing is the resources. We have all the resources that you need in order for you to be able to operate your trust efficiently and effectively. Meaning that if you need to file taxes, we have the tax form. If you need to transfer your house, we have the quick claim deed for you. If you need to transfer your business, we have the business purchase agreement for you, right? So we have everything that you need in order to operate your trust, okay? Another thing is board meetings, right? I never see anyone talk about they be having meetings for their businesses, right? So in this program, we teach you how to operate your trust the right way, show you how to do board meetings, etc., right? We also have a private Facebook community. So that is where you're going to be networking with like-minded individuals, okay? And we have a Telegram chat. That's where you put an app on your phone and you're able to chat back and forth with other trustees, okay? So we have over 800 trustees in our community. You have full access to them. These trustees have been operating for years, okay? They have their assets in there. They have their businesses in there. They've started businesses, and you have access to these individuals, right? That have, that are where you want to be. So the course is only $997, you guys. And I will show you what the course looks like in just a moment. Your second option is Done With You. Done With You is where we do it in a group setting, okay? And so we're going to hold you accountable. We're going to hold your hand through this entire process. So with the Done With You, what we do is it's a total of 5 Zoom calls. 5 Zoom calls. We do it Monday through Friday from 11 in the morning to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? So we're going to meet for anywhere between 3 to 4 hours per day. On Monday, we're going to set up the business trust together. So I'm going to provide you with the templates. I'm going to break down every single paragraph of the trust. The business trust is 50 pages, you guys. So I'm going to literally break down every single paragraph so that you can understand the contents of the trust. You need to know what's inside of the trust in order for you to operate the trust effectively, in order for you to operate the trust efficiently. And so that's why it's my job to be as thorough as absolutely possible to be able to break this information down to you, okay? Once I show you step by step on how to do it, and we do it together on Zoom, then I open up the floor for Q&A. Q&A is absolutely powerful. So you see how we're on a Zoom call right now as a group? Well, just imagine that in the workshop. right? Where people are asking questions that you didn't even know that you wanted to know. So not only do you get your questions answered instantly on the same day, but also you get to learn more because people are asking questions that you didn't even know you wanted to know. And so now your horizon is being broadened even more, right? So you still get access to the course and to all of the templates, okay? So that was Monday. Tuesday, we set up the family trust together, and then we dive into Q&A. Wednesday, we set up the tax exempt trust together. Then we actually apply for a tax exempt EIN. And then I show you guys how to go down the ordination process. And then we dive into Q&A. Thursday, we focus on one, we apply for EINs for the IRS with the IRS, right? So you can get that 9-digit number to go open up your bank account. Then we'll have our first board meeting where we'll go through the banking procedures so that you know the ins and outs of how you're going to operate this trust with the bank. Then we go through promissory notes where you can document loans and how much you're going to fund the trust with. And then lastly, we have a guest speaker who comes in with over a decade of experience on funding. And so he's going to teach you how to build business credit and business credit so you can get the funding, business credit and business funding so that you can get the funding you need for your trust, so that you can get the OPM. That's what we do here. We leverage OPM. So of course, if I'm telling you that, of course, if it's a part of the wealth building formula, I'm going to bring in an industry expert to teach you step by step. Now let's talk about Friday, because that's the last day of the workshop, right? So on Friday, we focus on transferring assets. So I'm going to show you how to transfer your property. So if you have real estate, land, anything like that, I show you how to fill out the quitclaim deed and how to record it with the county recorder's office. The second thing I show you how to do is put your car into the trust. So we're going to actually fill out the bill of sale and submit it with the DMV. The next thing I show you is how to put your LLCs and your corporations into the business trust. So you're going to fill out the business purchase agreement and you're going to do the amendments with the Secretary of State so that it's legally showing on the Secretary of State that the trust is the owner of the business entity. And then the very last thing is that I bring in an industry expert with over 15 years of experience in the real estate space to be able to teach you step by step on how to eliminate debt and how to go ahead and set up these IUL policies. So you're going to learn how to build cash value with the IULs and the whole lives. So that is what the workshop is. And you still get access to the course. You still get access to the resources, ebooks, Facebook community, and the Telegram chat. Right? And but you also get lifetime access to the workshops. So we do the workshops every single month, you guys. So we already did it for the month of January. So the next one is February 24th to the 28th, okay? So it's generally every 4 weeks. And so with the workshops, like I said, you get lifetime access. So you'll be able to attend every workshop. They are recorded and you get access to the recordings as well. The workshops are only $2,500. And the last option is do it one-on-one. So that's for our individuals who have multiple assets or multiple business entities, or that they actually don't want to do it by themselves and they don't want to do it in a group setting. They actually want it done for them. So my team and I, we help you set up the trust. So it's the 3 trusts, the business trust, the family trust, and the tax exempt trust, right? And so we help you set it up, notarize it, get your EINs, and transfer your assets, okay? But you're going to be working with me on a one-on-one basis. So it's just going to be me and you privately on a Zoom call. So we go more into strategies, structure, and acquiring various assets and investments, okay? So the private sessions are $10,000. So those are your three options, and you just have to choose the best option for you. And for those of you guys who are on the call, what I'll do is I will give you guys 20% off for the next 48 hours by using the discount code TRUST20 on our website. So if you go to our website, let me show you our contact information. So if you go to our website, www.wealthytrustee.com, then you are able to enroll, and there you can put in your discount code TRUST20 and enjoy 20% off in the next 2 days. So you can contact us. So we have our phone number on the screen, and you can either call or text. You can send us an email. You can visit us on social media. So what I want to do now is I want to show you what the course looks like and what the actual, what one of our trust templates looks like, okay?
Christine, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to tell everybody, I used to form the business trust. Since I've been listening to Christina, I turned around and bought the do-it-yourself. This child, and I don't mean that to offend you, has blown me away. I thought I knew about trust. I don't know squat. She has blown me away. If y'all walk away from this, something wrong with you. I'm telling you that right now. Something wrong with you. I'm not an affiliate yet. I'm just like I said, somebody who bought to do it for yourself. And I'm going to try to trade that back in so I can do it with you. This child has blown me away. She's blown me away.
Thank you so much, Antonio. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for saying that. And I'm glad that you were blown away, because I'm just gonna be honest, we want to go above and beyond, and we want to go over whatever your expectation is. So I'm very thorough, and we don't hide anything. We don't gatekeep anything. We give you all of our resources. So that's what we're all about here, because we want to see our community win, and we want to hold you accountable and actually make sure that you do what you are supposed to do by getting into this community. Thank you, Antonio. I appreciate you. So let me show you guys what the actual course looks like. And what I will say about the course is that it is, because you have lifetime access, anything that we add in the future, you guys will be grandfathered in and get, and have access to it, okay? So in the future, meaning this year in 2025, we are going to be adding an international trust, and we're going to have more trainings and modules in specifically include things with real estate investing. So there's a lot of interesting things that are going to be added this year. And so you guys are going to have full access to it. So once you're in, you're in. We don't, we don't charge you for anything extra. It's just, it goes straight into the program, and it goes straight to you guys. So with that being said, right now the program has 43 video modules. So after starting with the introduction, you'll go straight into the trust entity, okay? This is where you're gonna learn what a trust is. Like I said, we're very thorough. So I will let you guys know in full transparency, right? I'm a nurse. And so the way that I was trained is to break it down to a third grade level. And so that's how I educate. I educate you to where like you're in elementary school, and I break down every single thing, every single word, so that you can understand it. That is my goal. My goal is for you to understand it to the degree where you can then go out and teach it, right? But for you to understand it so that you can have the confidence and you can feel empowered to know, yes, I can go and operate this trust. Yes, I can go out here and operate in the private, right? So that's what it is. So in trust entity, we teach you what a trust is, the different parties, right? The grantor, trustee, beneficiary, successors, protectors, different benefits of the trust, the different types of trust. Then we go into the tax exempt trust. So we go into the trust constitution, the bylaws, how to get an EIN. Then we go into the family trust, and we go into the bylaws, the declaration, the different schedules, how to get an EIN. And then we do the same thing for the family trust. And then we go into tax strategies. So tax strategies is how to operate tax exempt for the entities that apply for that status, right? How to get sales tax exemption, things like that. How to not abuse any trust. We're not doing any tax evasion. So you are putting yourself in the best type of tax strategy by having these entities. Then we go into asset protection. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to take an inventory of your asset. You have to know what assets you have to know which ones qualify to go inside the trust and which ones are going to remain outside of the trust. Then we teach you how to open up a bank account, how to open up a brokerage account, how to transfer your property, the home deed, right? So we give you the quitclaim deed. We show you how to fill it out. We show you how to go record it so that now your house is protected. The same thing with the car. We show you how to transfer your insurance policies, how to transfer your businesses, and how to do board meetings, okay? And then we go into wealth creation, where we show you how to build business credit for the business trust. We show you how to invest those funds. So once you have that OPM, once you have those credit, that fund, then you want to park it in other places. One of the places that you can park it is the stock market through index funds. So we teach you step by step how to do that and how to allocate your assets, and then how to do infinite banking with the life insurance policies. Then we go into wealth preservation. We teach you about the legacy crash, and then we provide you with all the resources that you're going to need. So tax documents, all of your templates, board meetings, different step-by-step guides, and then all of the ebooks, okay? So that's the course. And then this is an example of one of our templates. So everything that you see in red is what you're going to be customizing. So you see there's a lot of stuff in red here. So this is what you're going to tailor or customize specifically for your family or for your trust organization, okay? So this document is 59 pages. So like I told you, I break down every single paragraph because I need you to understand this. If you don't understand this, guess what? You're going to have analysis paralysis, and you're not going to move forward because you don't have the confidence that you need in order to operate as a trustee, okay? So that's why I'm super thorough and I break everything down, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to open up the floor for Q&A. So go ahead and raise your hands if you guys have any questions. So we have about 30 minutes for Q&A. So if you have any questions, let me know and I'll be able to answer them. So we have Angela. Hey, Angela. And I'm also going to look inside of the chat, you guys. And the replay is going to be available. So the replay is going to be available. So we're streaming on YouTube now. And the replay is going to be available on YouTube. So go ahead to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and then you can watch the whole entire webinar from start to finish there. Angela, are you available?
Yeah. Hi. Thank you so much for this valuable information. I'm so glad I found you.
Thank you, Angela.
Yeah. So I live in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And so I want to ask you, can this also apply for Canada? Or are there different laws or specific things that might be different because, you know, it's a different country? I know we're very similar, but you know how every country and every state and province has different laws. So I currently have a corporation, and so I wanted to know, like, if I set this up, like, would this be legit for Canada because, you know, for laws and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So our trust right now, the way that it's designed is for domestic use here in the United States and all the US territories. So we don't have it tailored for Canada. So I will tell you, no. We do have a trust coming soon that you will be able to use for Canada. That's our international trust. And so you'll be able to tailor that for your, your jurisdiction and your state or your country. So right now, as of right now, our trusts are domestic.
Do you know when this international trust will be available?
Yeah, so we're looking, the earliest that it would be available would be March.
I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, thank you. Okay, next we have Adrian. How are you?
How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect. How are you?
I am blessed. I'm blessed to be here. I'm so grateful to be here to get this information. And I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
That was a lot of
Absolutely.
information.
I know
Um,
it's overload, but thank you for being here and thank you for staying on until the end. I appreciate that.
yes, yes, absolutely. Well, I am a caregiver for my father. Um, and he has an irrevocable trust. It was established. I wish I would have came to you prior, but it was established through an attorney. And he named it after him. It doesn't have a separate name, and it doesn't have an EIN, and it's using his social security number. The purpose of it is like a Medicaid asset protection because he's getting up there in age, and God forbid down the road if he were to need long-term care, we want the family home to be protected. So that is the reason why we did it. So I am his daughter. I'm taking care of him. I'm also the co-trustee
Yeah.
in it. So I'm responsible for it. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
We did assign my children as successor trustees after me.
Okay, that's
Okay.
perfect. Yeah.
So we had that established. My question is, the purpose of the trust is for it to be separate from my dad. So if he needed Medicaid to qualify for Medicaid down the road, shouldn't it be separate? Shouldn't he, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes, it should be. It should be. So two things that are an issue is the first one that is named after him. So that's an issue because if Medicaid and I've seen it too where Medicaid and Medicare will come after the individual, right? So if they do decide to come after his assets, like all of these healthcare agencies, that's usually their practice. So if they do decide to, then they're able to attempt. So they can attempt to go after the trust. And that's only because they're going to be aware of it because it's in his name.
Right.
And because the trust is using his social. So those are the two issues that I find. Now, the problem that you're facing is that you can't change the name of the trust.
Okay.
But if you wanted to stop using his social, then you could get an EIN for it. And at least separate the use of his social and have its own EIN. But unfortunately, since the way that since it's already in existence, you can't change the name of the trust.
Okay, so that wouldn't protect him from Medicaid if he needed it down the road. I mean, because
Correct.
they have the 5-year look back. So
Yep.
he won't need it now, but like if he's 81. So God forbid if he needed it, 4 years from now, right? We funded the house in the trust. So he's no longer the owner of the house, the trust, correct? So
Yeah.
that means he should be able to qualify for the Medicaid if he needed it 5 years from now.
Yes.
That was the main reason why we established it. So I'm okay with it. That's how the attorney set it up. And I asked him, I watched your videos before I went into the meeting. And I asked him, I said, doesn't it need an EIN? And he said, no, he said, no, you can do it this way and you won't have to file taxes. So I don't know. And everything happened so fast. He wasn't as thorough as are with the documents. When I got the document, it's like a big, thick, it's a lot of pages. So,
Yes.
I'm reading through it, and I'm like, okay, and I see in the clause where he is the trust protector. Can you assign your own trust protector? Or
Who is the trust protector? The attorney?
the attorney?
Yeah, so he doesn't have any other he doesn't have any other positions in the trust, right? Just the trust protector?
Right, just the attorney that drafted it, and it looks like he's the trust protector.
So okay, so I mean that's okay. So usually you will have an adverse independent individual that's the trust
Okay.
protector. So for him to be the trust protector, that is appropriate. But usually they don't appoint themselves. So, like usually he would have to have that discussion with you guys, but it sounds like he just automatically did it.
Right. It looks like it was a template. Because I work for attorneys. I know about boilerplates, I know about templates, I know about all of that. And that's basically what it looks like. It's a form that he uses for everyone when he establishes trust.
Yeah.
So
Nancy.
yeah, so that's my concern, down the road, will my dad still be able to qualify for Medicaid if he needed it? And will they be able to come after the trust since it's in his name and it's on his social security number?
Yeah.
Because I
Yes.
talked to my tax accountant today and he was saying the same thing. No, well, I can do the EIN for you, but you should try to get it out of his social security number because it's not separate from him.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. So the best thing that you can do is for it to have a separate EIN because now it's just kind of operating as an alter ego of your father because of the social use. So you need to stop that immediately. And the only issue that you face is just with the name because then they're able to know of the existence, of the trust because it's named after him. So that's the only issue.
and he
But
can't change it now.
no, yeah,
And it's already funded. The house is already funded in the trust name.
yeah.
Couldn't she still, even though it was set up wrong, never go to an attorney for a trust? But at any rate, with the new trust, can the new trust can absorb the old trust, correctly?
Yeah, if she wanted to create a new trust, absolutely. So that's if she wants to go through that extent, which I don't know if she wants to.
But what
So
I
so
want to set it up right.
so usually people they don't want their name on the trust, right? And so they'll set up a new trust with a different name that's not their name. And then they'll deed over the property from the old trust into the new trust.
So I have authority to do that as power of attorney and as co-trustee could not do that.
Yes,
Property.
you can, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so
Okay.
and always refer to your governing instrument. So you go to your indenture, look at your trustee powers, see what your powers are.
Thank you.
You're so welcome, Miss Adrian. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here and
Okay.
asking that good question. All right, and then I'm gonna go inside of the chat really quick. Is there any other questions? Let's see here. So, somebody asked about the IUL policy and if you could do that every month. Yeah, so you can flow money in and out of the policies every month if that's what you wanted to do. So then the next question was, do you have to pay the loan back? No, you don't have to pay the loan back. What is the insurance company you get the IULs? We have our own IUL team, okay? So in our community, we have our own team that does credit repair if you need it, that does business funding and business credit if you need it, that does tax preparation and tax services if you need it, and that does your insurance policies and helps you get out of debt if you need it. So go to the links that we have inside of the chat. And you'll be able to see our insurance, let me see, our insurance partner. One second. Okay.
She just posted it on the board.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we just posted it inside of the chat. Okay, so somebody asked what if they're a disability or they're a veteran? So if you wanted to get the insurance policies, it just depends. So you do have to qualify and you do have to apply. So I would tell you to book a call with our insurance team so that they're able to get more information from you to see if you qualify. Let's see here. So someone was asking if their son can be the successor trustee and the beneficiary. So the answer is yes, that the successor trustee can also be the beneficiary, but once they become the official trustee, then there has to be other beneficiaries listed on the trust. They can't be the sole beneficiary. Next we have Tanya. Hey, Tanya. Hey, Tanya.
Out of mute. Okay, I think I'm out of mute.
All
Can you hear
right,
me?
awesome. Yeah, how are you?
Good, good. Okay, so I got a couple of questions, but I'll try to make it quick.
Yes,
So the
ma'am.
question that I have is, so starting at the top, I wanted to do like a holding company. Does that need an EIN number? And then I
Yes.
wanted
So
all the,
I would tell you that every single entity, these are separate entities, they need their
yes.
own EIN number. EINs are not required, but they're recommended for banking purposes. It's very challenging to get a bank account for a trust without an EIN, and you don't want to put yourself in a position to where you could potentially be commingling funds. So that's why you want that entity to have its own bank account. And so that will result in it having its own EIN.
Okay. And then another question that relates to that as well. So I have a company that, let's just say it's called ABC123. So, and then that one has the EIN number. It's a business setup. You know, everybody knows about the name and everything. So I'm gonna have another one underneath it. That's just the bank trust. How would that work? Like, how would I filter the money to the trust, like doing the business?
Okay, so it's not a bank trust, so it's a business trust.
Okay,
So
so a business trust, yeah.
yeah, a business trust will be linked to the corporation.
Okay, so it's gonna be linked through the bank. So, but the bank, but
So no, you need to have separate bank accounts. Okay, so what are you asking specifically? So you have a business, the business has its own bank account. So that money is going to, so if the business is the one that's generating the money, that money is going to
yes,
go straight to the business bank account. Now you can do like owner draws for your business, or you can do like distributions to the owners, right? Like I call them K1 distributions. And so that could be a simple transfer, that could be a check that you're writing to the other company, that could be a ZELLE, a wire transfer, however you're going to get the funds from the business bank account to the business trust bank account. Those are two separate things.
Okay, yeah, because the business is gonna be named one thing and then the trust is gonna be a totally different name, but it's gonna run through that bank account?
Right, so all business activity is gonna run through the business bank account, then from there, it's going to be dispersed to where it needs to go. So from the business bank account, then it'll go to the trust bank account.
Oh, okay, okay, I think I got it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I think I'm good, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any other questions? Let me check in the chat here. Any other questions? So someone asked if it's okay to use your name in a living trust. I would recommend that you would never use your name on a trust. Why do you have to choose your name? Can you use something else like Sunflower Roses Enterprise, right? Use something else. Don't use your name. If you wanted to use parts of your name, you could. So I would tell you, you would go to the extent of using your last name, which is fine. A lot of people will use their last name. So if your last name is Johnson, you can do like Johnson Legacy, right? Johnson Dynasty, Johnson, Holdings, right? So you can go to that extent because your last name is very common, but you don't want to use that combination of first and last. We have Raul. Raul, you have a question?
Hi, yes, sorry, I'm having trouble getting these things to work on my cell phone. What if you don't really want to, or what if you don't like where your money is invested in the index fund? Is there like an alternative to control that?
Yeah, you don't have to necessarily get an index universal life. So if you weren't interested in indexes, then I would and the team will tell you too that maybe a whole life would be the better option for you. So that's why I'm definitely going to tell you to get with our team because they look at you as the individual and then they also look at your entire financial structure to see which policy is best for you.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome. So Sierra had mentioned about the 20% off. So you do want to use the discount code TRUST20 on our website. So I'll just go ahead and put that in the chat. So the discount code is TRUST20 and you can use it in the website. It is going to expire in 48 hours. So if you're interested in getting the 20% off, that would be financially beneficial for you. If you're interested in the program, but let's say that you don't have the financial capacity to be able to invest in the program right now, what you can do is you can put a deposit down. And if you put the deposit down within the 48 hours, then that will hold your spot for the 20% discount. So I just put the deposit link. So the deposit is only $200 and that is going to hold your spot so that you are then able to roll into a payment plan so that you can cover the difference so that you're able to, enroll into the course, but still enjoy the 20% discount without paying all the money now. So next we have Tanya.
Okay, me again. I paid for the program, but I was watching all your tutorials and stuff like that, and I was not prepared for it. So I do want to take the class in February.
Perfect.
And I can take the class as many times as I want.
Yeah, you have lifetime access.
Lifetime access. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure because I did pay for it and I was really excited, but I think everybody needs to look at those tutorials because you need to be prepared. You need to have the addresses, the phone numbers. There's a lot of information that you need to have before you do it. So when you're on the call, you can actually do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just want to say another thing too. So she's 100% because I've been to probate and it's not fun. It's not fun and it's very costly. So what she's charging is pennies. I mean, I actually paid $5,000 for probate. And it took a whole year and a half for us to sell our house. And my husband was the only son that she had. So the house, you would think it would automatically go to him, and it didn't. We still had to go to probate, spend $5,000, go to probate, and we had to pay the mortgage for a whole year and a half. So it was a mess, I'm telling you. And she's only asking, what, $2,500 for the program? It is just not expensive at all. Trust me. It is a lot of information, so you have to be ready. Listen to the tutorials that she gives you because you could be prepared, because it's a lot of information, but she's very thorough. And I appreciate you so, so much. And then I found out my husband, we did this a while ago, about 10 years ago. We spent $7,000 for an attorney, and it was trash. It was trash. So what she said about it, putting your name and all that stuff on it, the guy was trash. He really was. So we spent, I don't even know how much money on all this stuff. And your program is not as thorough as an attorney as it's well worth it. I'm going to say that. And I did speak to Mondo about the the life insurance policy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little older, but I'm going to still do it because I'll have the money for my kids and my grandkids whenever I have grandkids. So it's well worth it. And then I can use the money in the future if I need to go on vacation, retire. When it's time for me to retire, I'll have money to retire because I've been investing in a 401k for about 20 years. And it's not the money that I thought it was going to be. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have it for retirement. And if I'm going to just wait for the government to help me, I'm going to die. You know what I'm saying? It's not enough to live off of. And it's not enough to travel. It's not enough to do anything with. So I'm just letting you guys know this girl is the real deal. I even called her office because I didn't believe she was the real deal. And she actually answered the phone. She answered the phone. I was like, oh my God, she answered the phone. She said, people say that about me. I was like, because this is YouTube. You know, we think everything's a scam.
Yeah.
She answered the phone. I was like in shock. So that's it. That's all I want to say. Thank you so much again. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you too. Thank you for saying that. And I know probate is an absolute nightmare. And so that's my mission here on earth, is because I see that a lot of our kids, they're losing their inheritance, right? And that's because our families do not have their affairs in order, our parents. And so sometimes we're kind of stuck in the middle where we have to get the affairs in order for our parents, and then also our affairs in order for our kids. So I'm so sorry for everyone who has to go through the whole probate process. And that's why I want you to know that it is avoidable. You do not have to go through that process as long as you create your own estate while you're living, okay? And then Tanya, another thing is that we don't work with Mondo anymore. So we have another team that we use. So her name is Gerda. And I would recommend that you have a conversation with her because there's some, alternatives and a different strategy that we use. And so that's why we switched to another team. So the link is inside of the chat, okay?
Yeah, I do have an appointment. I'm sorry. I do have an appointment with her set up as well.
Okay, good.
I was going to try like a couple of different people and
ones,
see
okay.
what had they offer and see what they offered me as far as, and which one I felt comfortable with and which one I felt like give me a better deal, because I'm going to retire in 10 years. So if I don't have that money, I'm going to be screwed because I don't want to work anymore. I'm tired. I've been working since I was 15. I'm tired. I'm just tired. So I wish I would have known about this 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and I would have been set, but I'm not. So, and I'm scared because it's like, I'm running out of time. So I need to find something that I can retire within 10 years.
Yeah, and you're doing the right thing. So you're in the right direction, trust me. So I'm so glad that you're a part of the community, and don't you worry, like you just take it step by step, and you will establish that solid foundation for you to, to get into that retirement mode. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, next we have Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy.
Yes, my question is about, I heard that if you are a mortgage on the house, you cannot put your house in the irrevocable trust. It have to be a revocable trust. So I just want to confirm, can I buy your course, and if I have a house and still paying the mortgage, can I still put the house on this trust, family trust?
You can, yes. So first of all, every single financial institution is not the same. Okay. So every single mortgage company, their rules, their regulations. Okay. So you can still put your house in an irrevocable trust and your mortgage remain intact. Okay. And it's not going to call an acceleration for your loan to be due, which is like a due on sale clause. So one, I would tell you contact your mortgage company, but the second thing that I would tell you is that it is absolutely possible. Another thing is that when you transfer the deed into a trust, they don't know what type of trust it is. Remember, there's hundreds of types of trust, right? So all you have to do is be as general as possible too. Less is more. So you tell them that you put the property into a trust. Okay, they don't have to know which type of trust it is. You don't have to disclose all the information. You just have to let them know that an authorized representative of the mortgage is now going to be a trust, and you let them know the entity name.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and let's see here. Someone asked, can you clear up some of this mix up about being a trustee and a beneficiary? Okay, so legally, a trustee can be a beneficiary, but only if there are other beneficiaries. So the trustee cannot be the sole beneficiary, meaning that you set up that you are the trustee and that you're the only beneficiary on the trust, right? That is not allowed. But a trustee can have beneficial interest inside of the trust, as long as there's other individuals that have beneficial interests as well. So you have to have at least one other beneficiary in order for the trustee to serve in two positions. Now, it's not necessary for the trustee to be the beneficiary. Usually we do not set it up that way. So the beneficiaries, they have no power and no control. The trustees have all the power, all the control. So the beneficiaries are not necessarily benefiting from the trust. Now they are designed to benefit from the trust either incrementally through distributions or at the termination of the trust. When the trust is terminated, then they'll receive the assets that are inside of the trust. With the trustee is designed to be compensated for their services. So that means that they can get that compensation now, right? So they'll be compensated from the trust, which in a sense means that they are benefiting from the trust because they're rendering a service, which is trusteeship. And so someone asked, let me see. If we could post the links again. So we'll go ahead and post the links again to the website. So one thing is that we have an affiliate program, you guys, so you can join the affiliate program if you want to refer our program to like your friends and family. We pay out 20% commission on anyone that enrolls into our program. You do not have to be in our program in order to be an affiliate. So the link is in the chat. The link for our insurance partner is in the chat. The link for our funding partner, if you guys are interested in getting a consultation for the business funding, is in the chat. Our Facebook community, our Forex investment. So we do have, I am a fund manager, and we have an offshore brokerage. And so you can actually, if you have a trust, you can set it up either in your personal name or in your trust. So I recommend that you set it up in your trust. And with this Forex investment, it's It's called a PAM account, PAMM, which stands for Percentage Allocation Money Management account. This is the only way to passively invest in the foreign exchange market. So in the foreign exchange market, $6.6 trillion is traded on that market every single day, Monday through Friday. So that market runs 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And your goal is to get a little bit of that 6.6 trillion. So in order to get that, you have your bankers and your retail traders that are trading on the currency pairs. So you have currency pairs like the euro against the US dollar. And so, the currency either goes up or goes down, and you make a profit or you make a loss. So we have a professional trader who has been trading for over a decade, and he trades our fund. So what you do is you'll open up a brokerage account. You can put it in your trust once you get one, or you can put it in your personal name now and then transfer it into your trust later. And you can fund it with at least $1,000, and then you can link it to our master account. Our master account is the account that's being traded by the professional trader. So he doesn't have the capacity to trade your account and my account and hundreds of other people's account independently or individually. So he trades one account, which is the master account. So once you set up your PAM account, you link it to our master, then those funds that you have in your brokerage account are available to be traded. And so based on the based on the trading volume, then you'll receive a percentage of the profit, right? So whatever the funds that were in your brokerage account that was allocated to the trade, you'll receive those funds. So we do a 60-40 split, meaning that 60% of that profit will go to you and 40 will go to the trader. So if you made $100 today in the market, then you keep $60, and then $40 is deducted from your account by the brokerage and sent to the trader. That is his compensation, which we call a performance fee. Okay. So the performance fee is collected once a month. It's the beginning of the month, the first day of the month. So you can withdraw your funds at any point in time. You just cannot withdraw your funds while you're in an open trade, because it will put your funds at risk. So as soon as all of the trades are closed and there's no activity in your account, you can withdraw or do whatever you want. So it's a really good investment, and we started this in August, and so far from August to January, we have gained 73% in profit. So it's a good way to make double-digit returns, and a way that you can make money outside of, the bank, right? So if you have money just sitting around not working, then you can put it into the Forex investment, and then you can have it working for you. Okay, so that link is also available in the chat. So is there any other questions? Any other last questions before we wrap it up, you guys?
Yes, I'm sorry. I've been trying to raise my hand, Christina, but I can't
Okay.
seem to. I keep clicking on the react button, and it got check marks by the recognize hand gesture, but I don't see the hand in my box. So I'm like, I don't know if she see my hand or not.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't see it, but I'm so glad that you came off mute, Miss Sylvia. How
Yeah,
are you?
I'm fine.
All right,
So
awesome.
the question I had to, is it okay? I think there were some other hands. If the other people need to go, I can wait, but I just didn't see my hand.
I'm not sure. Is there anybody? I know Raul's hand. I think he asked his question. Raul, do you have another question, or I think your hand was just up from earlier?
I have one question. This is Jimmy.
Oh,
I
okay.
already had it answered. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right. Okay, yeah, go for it, Jimmy, and then we'll go with Miss Sylvia.
Yeah, my question is that you mentioned before that I have to appoint a tax trust creator for my trust. So if I have three trust, business, personal, and the nonprofit, can one person be a creator for all of my three trusts?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so your trust, all three of them are separate entities, and so the same person can serve in that same role for all three. So you can have, the same trustee for all three, the same creator for all three.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then we have Miss Sylvia. Thank you for waiting, Miss Sylvia.
No problem. I just didn't want to be disrespectful and get the ones that did have their hands raised. So the question that I had is, I am going to join the group program, but is the group program only time frame is during the day? There's no evening time frame. When do you do those sessions?
Oh yeah, okay. So with the workshops, it is a set time, so it is during the day, so it's 11 to 2 Eastern Standard Time. We don't do them in the evenings. The only thing that we do in the evenings is master classes. So we have master classes either once a week or maybe once every other week, and it's on various different topics. So yesterday we had a master class on taxes. So our CPA came in and started educating us on tax strategies. He's also coming back next week to break down the 1041 forms for the business trust. Then we have our business credit master classes, business funding master classes, debt elimination master classes, and we have like crypto classes and forex trading classes, real estate classes. So those are classes that we do in the evening at 7 p.m. and that's available for all community members. So as far as the workshop, it's only during the day.
Okay.
But
So
it is
that
recorded. It is recorded. And then also we have like some of our community members that they work during the day. And so sometimes what they'll do is they'll have they'll be able to join the Zoom and just listen, but like not participate as far as like coming off a mute and stuff, and they'll just put their questions in the chat. And then the sessions are recorded and they'll go back and watch the recording if they missed anything.
so that information is in the community that you can go back and watch those master classes.
Yeah, everything's recorded. Everything.
Okay. Okay, I'm connected with the community, so I can.
And then after the workshop, once the workshop is done, after the workshop, then you'll have a one-on-one session with me. So after you've completed the 1 week workshop, once you've gotten everything started, I'll double check everything for you. So I'll be that final set of eyes to where you're crossing your T's, dotting your I's before you get everything notarized and funded and stuff.
Okay, cool.
All
Well,
right.
thank you so much.
Hey, you're so welcome, Miss Sylvia. Thank you so much for being here and
All right.
staying on the whole time. Next we have Mr. Ernest. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Wonderful.
Yeah. Hi, Christina. You've done an exceptional job tonight.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Mr. Ernest. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. My question is, Christina, is I can't get into my DIY account,
Okay.
and I was wondering, could you guys send me a link with the email? See, what happened was I had filled out for the affiliate program, but I had 2 different emails. And I think it got mixed up some type of way.
I understand. Okay, so I'm sending a message to the team right now and they'll be able to get your account up and running. So they'll either have to correct the email or just do a password reset for you.
Oh, okay, great, great. So the email is well, I sent it in a link.
Yeah, I see you put it inside the chat, right? Info
Yeah,
at
inside the
something?
chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna send it to them now.
And eventually, I'm looking forward to looking into the Forex and possibly upgrading to the second information,
The
the
workshop?
2500, the 2500.
Yes, okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, you can upgrade at any point in time. And so if you whenever you're ready to upgrade, you just send us a message and then all you have to do is pay the difference and then you'll be in the next tier, which is the workshop.
Okay, so I know paying for the DIY. you had the 50% off then. So what would the actual uh, amount be, you know? If it's 20% or 50% or whatever?
So what I would tell you to do is the team will be able to reach out. I just sent them your email, so they'll be able to reach out and they'll let you know what the difference
Okay.
will be, because they have to go into your individual account and see what your enrollment rate was.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Fantastic.
Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Ernest. I appreciate you.
Yes, have a blessed night.
You too. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so somebody asked about being the grantor and the beneficiary. The grantor of an irrevocable trust cannot benefit from the trust, so they cannot be the same individual. So someone, let's see here. All right, next we have Miss Adrian.
Yes, really quick, really quick. With what I had already discussed with you, with the trust being in my dad's name and social security number, with it the way it's set up now, down the road, would that disqualify him for Medicaid because it's in his name? Because it's property in his name, although it's in a trust. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I would tell you no, unless the trust was generating like a large amount of income and they wanted to, consider that as his income. So you have to go to the trust, you have to go to your indenture to see what it says. So our indentures say that trust income belongs to the trust and not to the trustee. So it's very important to have the appropriate verbiage inside of the actual indenture.
Okay. Okay. And so moving forward, I don't feel like going through redoing everything with because that's my dad's trust.
Yeah.
So me being a trustee and his daughter and a beneficiary on his trust, and I have my own property. And I need to set up my own trust, moving forward.
Yes, ma'am.
um I have learned my lesson, so I know that the name that I wanted to put on his I could put on mine and not use my name and get an EIN number because I have children, adult children.
Yeah.
So I need to set up my own trust because I'm on his. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to make sure your children receive your assets. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Christina. You've been a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Adrian. I appreciate you. Thank you. And next we have Christina Buckley. Hey, Christina, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Christina. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm just good. Don't we have the best name ever?
I'm saying we in
Yeah.
this piece.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh. And I'm trying to get like you. So I'm trying to grow up and be like you, ma'am. I appreciate you and your depth of knowledge and you sharing it with the world. Like this is amazing. And I appreciate you. You're just wonderful. So thank you, Christina Advance.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for saying those kind words. I appreciate you too.
Yes, ma'am. And so my question is, I got a trust, but I did it online. And so it was with people that were in California and whatever. So I'm wondering, is it a legitimate trust? Like I paid for this thing, you hear me? And so everything was done computerized and all that. And they did send it the trust to me, but I'm wondering, is it legit since I wasn't there when it, I guess, for notarization and to get it solid, I guess it would have to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So wherever your indenture is, so you said they send it to you. it might require your signature. So did you go through the actual trust documents? Because in order for it to be legalized, it's going to require your signature. So there's two ways for it to be legalized. Either you sign in front of two witnesses, or you sign in front of one notary with their seal, and that's your witness. So you have to look on your trust, because if you didn't sign it, it doesn't sound like it's legal.
Okay, so then I sign it and go to the notary, and then it's legal at that point. Like, I don't need the
Correct.
company that did it. I don't need the company there that did it to be a part of that.
So it just depends on what's in your actual indenture. So I don't know how many signatures are required, how they set it up. So if you just see that it's only your signature that's required and a notary, then you're good to go. If it's you and maybe another person, like if you have a grantor or something, then that might be the situation as well. So I'm not really sure. You have to look in your trust to see what's required on there.
Okay, so yeah, it is me and another person on there. So then I would have to have them too with the notary as well. Okay.
Yep, 2 signatures and a notary.
Okay, and is there an expiry date on that, having that process done? Do you
Oh,
know?
so you have to look on your trust. So in
Okay.
your trust is gonna let you know the term of the trust. So
Okay.
usually it'll tell you how many years that the trust is supposed to be in existence for. So they probably set it up already with a term. And then in the notary section, it has its own date. So your establishment date and your notarization date can very well be 2 different dates. It doesn't have to be the same date.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Miss Awesome Lady. I appreciate you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. And I
Yes,
appreciate
ma'am.
everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. So the replay is available on YouTube. Please go to our YouTube channel, like, comment, subscribe. We are going to be running a giveaway very soon. So we'll probably have a giveaway in like the next week or two, where we're going to give away to one lucky person that's subscribed to our YouTube channel access to the workshop that's coming up in February, okay? So stay tuned for that. We'll go ahead and send a text message blast. So the actual the messages that you receive for this Zoom call, we'll go ahead and send a text message blast with the link so that you guys can enroll in the giveaway if you're interested in that, okay? But that's not going to be probably for like another 2 weeks. So I think we're going to run it from the 1st until the 20th. So like the first 20 days of February. And that's just going to be for one lucky subscriber. So with that being said, I just want to tell you guys that you guys are fantastic. And just take action on the information that I provided you guys with tonight, because it will change the trajectory of your family. Every single person that's on this call is a generational curse breaker. And so now it's time for you to, 1, break those change the trajectory of your kids' family, and leave that legacy. So God bless you guys, and I